God that the brothers on the rise now. Endless celebrations all in my house. Levitating now, I'm super duper fly now. London boy, but DC where I reside now. Put the time in while you always yelling time out. And for quit it, cause I know I'm coming with it. You were sitting, you were wishing I was handling my business. Now I got the ball like Harry Potter playing Quidditch. And my business is humongous, you would think that happens in it. Oh man, I'm all that, yeah, I'm all that. Working for that whip, yeah, that what you call that. I'ma blow up in the summer, have him yelling fall back. And I've always been ahead like an effing ball cap. Man, I came in the game like, whoa. Got a couple chains on me cause I like gold. They told me I'm the best and I told them I know. Cause when I'm in your town, every ticket I sold. Yeah, they saying I'm the man. Facts, bro. Facts, lot of haters. Tell me where they at, though. I'm the new pop, all I do is rap, though. Want me on your song, throw a couple stacks, yo. Woo! Everybody wanna do the same thing, yup. That's why we ain't on the same page. Do my own thing, and I maintain. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. I'm going mainstream. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. Yeah, I'm going mainstream. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. I'm going mainstream. Mainstream. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. Yup. I'm going mainstream. Damn. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. So I'm going mainstream.
And welcome to another episode of Xbox Infinite. We've got a bit of a stacked show this week, so I won't mess about. We'll get straight into it. We've got a massive panel this week as well, with some new guests and some returning guests. So we'll go to our new guest, Harry 2 Chains Hargeet Channy. Welcome to the show, man. How you doing? What have you been up to? What have you been playing? There's a fair bit to play this week.
Yep, and I've still just been playing the game I freaking hate, Elden Ring, trying to finish that stupid thing. So, yeah, that is what I've been playing mostly, so.
Yeah, how's
this
that?
man speaks blasphemy.
And you're starting to love it. You're starting to love it, let's be honest. A little tiny bit. A little bit of love.
I don't know about that. I just want to end it so that I can move on to the next game. But yeah, it's something, I guess. And then they have to release a new game, Tunic, that's apparently Elden Ring meets Zelda. Oh boy.
yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. But yeah, it's actually pretty good. I don't mind that. One of our returning guests, Red Dead Panda. Welcome back to the show. What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
Thank you, as always, for the lovely introduction, Risket. Happy to be here and happy to be amongst some amazing other gamers in our community. So appreciate the invite. What have I been up to? Playing Halo, community gaming night with you guys. Started Tunic, and I've started Guardians of the Galaxy. So yeah, that's what I've really been up to, and like water blasting my house. Yeah, just mundane stuff.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. But Guardians, what a game. How you finding that?
Good game. I'm loving it. Very much enjoying it because like I love the movies and you get that definite feel from the movies and the comics around the humor and stuff. So the gameplay's pretty cool as well. Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Really cool. The quips, like you basically have to listen that entire game because the quips between the cast is like second to none. As good, if not better than the movies, in my opinion.
And when you go exploring, they like pick on you for like they're rude to you about exploring, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I love that. I love it."
Yeah, it's great. It is a great game. It's one of the best games of the last generation. Jack, welcome back. How you doing, man? What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
Yeah, great to be here. Like the rest of you, I'm very masochistically inclined, so I've been on Elden Ring, repeatedly regretting every facet of my existence. What have I been playing? Gran Turismo. Oh, no. Wait, never mind. Haven't been playing Gran Turismo. But other than that, yeah, it's been great. I'm really glad to be here. I thank everybody, including the panel, for the opportunity to be back on, and I'm looking forward to chopping it up. There's a lot of things in here, and thanks for having me.
Awesome, man. It's great to have you back. And every week returning, we have our panel members. JediKnightPete, how you doing, man? I know what you've been playing.
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah, still stuck on Elden Ring. Just made it to the Land of the Giants. So I am getting there. I'm running through my quests at the moment. I know people are probably sick of hearing about Elden Ring, but I'm in love with the game. Other than that, playing a bit of Halo, destroying Panda as usual in community game night.
Jesus, what was that? I think you need to stay in your lane, Pete.
But having a great time and cannot wait for the podcast. Such a great panel today. Jack, 3-4 times returning panel member. Panda, and first time having Hargeet on the show. Welcome, everybody. Xbox Infinite, let's go.
Umbra, man, as always, coming back to the show. How you doing, man? What have you been playing? What have you been up to?
Oh, man, it's good to be back. It's good to talk with you all. I'm so grateful for the guests here, too. For again, with Panda and I guess the MVP, Jack here. He's always here. It's like his fifth, I think, or sixth time. But, yeah, I just want to give you guys thanks for coming through. And Hargeet, we played, of course, on the Halo community night, but it's great to have you here as well, brother. Yeah, I'm stuck in Elden Ring too. I'm over 200 and I think 14 hours in now. In my first playthrough, just because I'm exploring and going crazy and farming and everything like that. I'm at the last boss right now, getting my ass handed to me, but I'm loving it, man. It's great. But once I finish, I'll be moving to Tunic too.
Yeah, I've been pushing my way through Elden Ring, man. It's tough, it's punishing, but it's rewarding at the same time. I'm loving the game. I know people are a bit tired of hearing about Elden Ring. I will also apologise for the game capture at the moment. I'm having some issues with my capture card. For some reason, it wants to tear the screen in half, so and it doesn't show up until I do a bit of work on the footage. So, yeah, I will work on that for next week, and we'll make sure that you're not getting game cap that's tearing the screen in half if you do watch it. Let's get into this week's topics, though. And first one off the rack is an interesting one, and there's been some interesting takes across the community about this. And I can't say that I'm in line with a lot of the community on this one. The initiative has lost over half of its studio members since its inception. That's 36 members they've lost of a studio of 70. They have rehired 12. And they are apparently down to around about 50 members in the studio. Now, look, in my opinion, that's not a good thing. If you're losing half of your company and then you're getting reports coming out about, lack of creative freedom, lack of management listening to its employees, it's not a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing for the game. It's definitely not a bad thing for Perfect Dark. You've got Crystal Dynamics on it. And I think it just rams home that point that Microsoft will likely acquire Crystal Dynamics. One other thing before I go to the guest is that there are a lot of people saying they'll probably fold the initiative into Crystal Dynamics. I do think that studio is a failed experiment, and I do think that it'll probably die a slow death over the next 3 to 4 years, and then we'll lose the initiative. I do not think that they will fold them into Crystal Dynamics if Crystal is acquired. Microsoft don't like to mess with the studios that they acquire, especially straight off the bat. I think you'll see a lot of that talent get folded into studios throughout Microsoft, but we will see what happens there. Chatty, Hargeet, have you been looking at what's going on at the initiative over there? Are you concerned for the game itself, or not too worried?
So actually, I'm not worried about the game, but that's because I kind of like what Crystal Dynamics has done before, and that's essentially what seems to have happened here. Apparently, a lot of the folks that came over wanted to do cool new things, and Daryl's like, yeah, okay, we've tried this out, but it's not going anywhere. We're not getting anything done. We're going back to how we make normal games. And that really rubbed some of them the wrong way, and they decided to split. And that it's fair. The other potential could have been to create other teams within the initiative to maybe try some of those things and at least have some output with Perfect Dark. But I think that's kind of where this ended. And I don't know if it's good or bad. I just think that having Crystal Dynamics make a game that they already know how to make with what Gallagher is going to put together, I think is probably going to be good for the game. So we'll get a game we're kind of familiar with. It won't be something revolutionary though, right? And I think that was something that we were being promised with the initiative, right? They were going to do new things. I think that's kind of gone with those people. And so I think it's kind of a shame that maybe, I don't know if Microsoft or Matt Booty or anybody like that actually got involved before these folks started like mass exodusing and said, hey, maybe we could do something different and you can have a different team or something like that and try to make something else. But if they tried and it failed, fair enough. But if they didn't even get a chance because they just clashed and left, well, that kind of sucks. So I'm not as worried about the game. I am kind of worried about the initiative itself. That was the intent, to try to create something new, and that just seems to be gone. So I don't know where that really ends, right? So I think Daryl is good at what he does. Maybe that wasn't the right fit for that kind of a studio. Or maybe it is, but we'll find out, right? But I don't think it's going to be very different. But that could be great because I love Tomb Raider. I thought it was great. So hopefully they'll do something like that. So it's kind of what my thoughts are.
Yeah, that's absolutely that's what I would like. I would like the word on the street was they were doing a first person. I would like them to do what they are great at, which is third person over the shoulder action adventure. Panda, you've been watching what's going on with the initiative. Do you think that we've got any cause for concern about Perfect Dark?
Echo Hargeet's point there. Like, I think we're not going to see it impact the game because you've got Crystal Dynamics jumping on. I think maybe people are saying we're probably going to see it end of next year, maybe early 2024. But yeah, I'm not worried about that. It doesn't bode well for obviously the studio itself, the initiative. But I mean, just looking at what they've come out and said about it in the past, you kind of understand why they've had a bit of a mass exodus, because I guess the wording around it was this is this AAA studio, quadruple A,
yeah.
Sorry, and I think we all had expectations around that, but it was kind of like we already knew that this was coming when it was announced that Crystal Dynamics was coming on to help build out the rest of the game and so on and so forth. So I mean, it's not a stretch or a surprise, and I think developers have the right to go and get and work wherever they want, where it makes them happy and where they feel valued. And if that's not that environment, I mean, there will probably be others that this is the right environment at the initiative. So I think we've all probably left jobs that we haven't been entirely happy with, and we've gone to other areas which we are happy with. So I mean, I think it's being blown way out of proportion. Yeah, I'm not too worried about the game itself. I'm not too worried about the studio at this point, because as a gamer, it's not going to really impact me. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, Jack, you've got a bit of a differing opinion on that. We were talking about the other day.
I do, yeah. So I don't want to be the resident pessimist as it is. But no, I think it's I agree with Panda and with what they're saying. And I agree with everything. I agree that what appears to be on the line would be sort of the viability and the coherent solvency of the initiative, as a sort of developmental entity. I do not think, and I think Hagit made a great point, I do not think it's the IP, it's the game that is net, because, Crystal Dynamics is coming in to sort of, I would imagine, help right the ship. But I take a very dim view of it. I think that this speaks to, from what I can garner, and we don't know too much about it. Only the tidbits that sort of slip out of the internet, those nebulous places. But I think it's bad. I think it's not just bad optics. We've heard the narrative for a long time that Microsoft will flex its financial muscles to buy studios. You look at things like ZeniMax, Bethesda, and Activision Blizzard, being the two most recent and prominent examples, because it reflects on an inability to sort of, and I hate to use the word organic because we all know where that comes from, but to sort of organically develop, harness, and produce with their own in-house creative, teams and all that. And I think, as much as I'm loath to say it, I think that there is certainly a degree of credence that this would lend that narrative, as unfortunate as it is. And you look at what's going on and you're like, is this another Lionhead? I think a lot of people are wondering, are we going to get a Molyneux situation, with Gallagher? It's a sordid situation, and I think it reflects poorly, not only on Microsoft, I think it reflects poorly on Xbox, and I think, especially, and I hate to say it, I think it reflects poorly on, Lord, Filius Sonius Decimatus himself. I think he came out, he said it was a quadruple A studio, and I would imagine a quadruple A.
Easy, Tiger.
No.
Saying, what about Matt Booty? You think that Matt Booty should be sticking his fingers in this bucket? That's the issue, and I think that's a great question, Risket, because is the problem the result of too many fingers in the bucket, so to speak, or is it sort of like a problem, with, this sort of lackadaisical management style, where it was like sort of a salutary neglect, if you will, do your own thing, and then we'll logistically support you. It's difficult to answer that, because I don't know if the problem's because of that or because of a lack of that. There's no real there's no real way to say that for sure. I just think it's a bad image. I don't know if it's a bottom top or a top down. I would guess top down problem. You'd have to look at the echelons at which these developers are leaving. Senior creative developers, and just sort of programmers, things like that. But it's bad. I think it's very bad, and I think it reflects poorly on Xbox, reflects poorly on Microsoft, and I hope that it gets righted, because we all want a new perfect deck. Yeah, absolutely. Panda, did you have something you wanted to add?
No.
No. Okay. So, Umbra.
Yeah, look.
Oh, no, we'll go to Jelly.
He's already
something else. Sorry, and then I made a comment about that. So sorry. Ignore me.
You're good.
Yeah, right. I just saw the green ring flash, and I thought, oh, she's in. Jedi, you were about to say.
I was going to say that the Dan Nuremberg, who is the game director, has left. The design director, Drew Murray, Chris O'Donnell, the principal. So two system designers that are from God of War. So there's two writers that are gone, program technical director, art director, lead gameplay engineer, lead animator, Q&A. So they've left from all different departments. And when Xbox started the initiative and what they originally called Black Tusk before they started working on Perfect Dark, they got all the talent that was in the Santa Monica region, because there was so much talent there, and they poached a lot of top talent. Even though it would have been cheaper opening a studio somewhere else in the world, because, that's smack bang in the middle of Silicon Valley, that's where Rockstar are, that's where Naughty Dog are, that's where a lot of these great studios are, and that's why Microsoft wanted to start a studio there. And I think it's a little bit disappointing that they weren't able to keep this magnificent team together. But in saying that, just because you've got all these great people together, it doesn't mean that they're going to be able to work cohesively as a team. And it seems to me that's what the problem is. Over half the people leaving is not, is not a good sign, if you ask me. And I worry. I worry for the game. I probably shouldn't, because Crystal Dynamics are great, and they did say that a lot of people that are leaving said that they wanted the game to go in a different direction. They maybe felt that they would have had more say in the game. They thought that they would be making something new and fresh. And maybe when they brought Crystal Dynamics in, or maybe they didn't want to go in that direction. Maybe they wanted to make something similar in the vein of Tomb Raider. I don't really know. I don't really want to speculate. I just hope that at the end of all this, we get a great game. I think Perfect Dark deserve that. And look, bringing Crystal Dynamics on is, if you ask me, if you forget about Marvel Avengers, which shouldn't have been made in the first place, or it should have been made, but it shouldn't have been made into a live service game. The games they made before that was Tomb Raider. So, female protagonist, sort of similar style gameplay. I think the game will be good, but I don't like that Microsoft is losing all this great talent. Maybe they could have moved over, to other places, but like I said, these people all come from Santa Monica, and what Panda said is right. The industry at the moment is incredibly competitive. If you want a job somewhere, there are jobs there for you. I mean, people are being poached left, right, and center. So if you're not happy with what you're doing, you can move on somewhere else. It's not going to affect your career at all. If anything, it will probably benefit it. So, yeah.
Yeah, look, I don't think it's a reason to be super concerned for the game. Like you said, with Crystal Dynamics at the helm, I don't think we've got much of an issue. Yeah, when you look at the Avengers, that's a different kettle of fish. It's a live service game. A lot of people point to that game as, but one bad game a studio does not make, and they had 3 bangers before they did that. Umbra, are you concerned about the game itself, or do you think that we'll see the initiative stick around? Because look, my take on the initiative stick around, if you're Microsoft, if you're a company and you've got 30 plus studios already, you're about to bring another 30 plus into the fold, and you've got a studio just burning up money that's not really producing, and it has culture issues, which is something that we know Microsoft, no studio in this current environment wants. I can't see Microsoft supporting the studio for much longer with the issues that we're hearing coming out of the initiative. Umbra, what do you think?
No, I think you made a great point there. The reports that we heard behind the scenes, we can't say it's concrete proof, but from what we've heard, Microsoft has been extremely lenient, like to the point that the devs were like shocked at how lenient they were in giving them leeway. So you might be right. Maybe they're like, we're going to give you enough rope, and if you hang yourself with it, that's on you. So you could be right about that. I would think, though, that bringing Daryl Gallagher in like they did, I doubt that they would shutter it, just because that's an extreme talent. And then you have Crystal Dynamics, who we all speculate may be bought out by Microsoft and brought in. Then that would become the initiative. So I'm not too sure of that one way or another, to be certain right now. Go ahead, Panda. I'm sorry.
I think Phil trusts the people under him, and he trusts them to make the right decisions. Like, he's building a team so that when he eventually leaves and someone else takes over, they are strong and ready and flexible for whatever they need. And if that means going in and going, hey, you need to pull up your socks to, get in behind and do this game and so on and so forth, I think they have the capacity to do so. We're just not seeing a lot of it because they aren't being transparent in that regard, and we don't need them to be. I think
I can agree there.
I mean, I have faith in Phil, and I have faith in the people he's put in those specific places and put around his team that he works with. And I think that it's just, there hasn't been a lot of negative Xbox news as of recent in the last 1.5 years. So any story that can potentially have possible negative connotations, people are really picking up and running with it. So I'm thinking
That's a
that's
fair point.
seeing it a lot
that's-
more.
I would add to this though that even me, I'm a pretty optimistic kind of guy, but losing 34, was it 34? I believe 34
Concerning.
people
36.
is very concerning.
36. Yeah, it is.
36 was it?
mate,
So
yep.
even so more than like a little bit over half, or at least let's say half of the devs left.
It's such
Now
a new- yeah,
the
sorry.
positive thing is the devs that left, they didn't like put a negative on the Microsoft or anything like that. They said that they fully supported. They were fully supported, and Microsoft was extra lenient, gave them the time they needed, never pressured them. But then that brings up the question to me: is Microsoft being too lenient nowadays? It's just kind of funny because the culture reversal, Microsoft used to be too hands-on. Now it's a fact that, or at least it seems to be that they're way too hands-off. So I'm wondering now, maybe with this now it's going to be delayed, like Silent Cypher pointed out in the chat. This game is likely not coming out until 26, maybe late 25, if that.
Mm-hmm.
If we're lucky. So, and I mean, because the devs that left reportedly said that due to them leaving, so much is undone, more or less, and it's going to be, delayed. So I'm guessing 25, 26.
I don't know if
Seems
it
a
will
lot
be
from
delayed.
scale,
I don't.
though.
Yeah, I don't think it will be delayed, Umbra. I actually think that the people left because they weren't getting enough say in the decision-making processes, and I think they thought that they would have more input. They've also
More freedom.
said,
More creative freedom.
exactly.
No,
They
I
also
agree there.
like said that.
But to throw out, we didn't have any release date. Just to throw that out, Jedi, we didn't have any. So when I say delay, I mean the scheduled goals they had internally more than likely was next year.
Yeah. Look, I think that development for this game has been incredibly slow, and I think this was an experiment that Microsoft did in creating Black Tusk and the initiative, and I think it's a failed experiment. I really do. I think that Microsoft didn't actually understand how hard bringing a studio is together, and yes, everyone they brought in was incredibly experienced and incredibly talented. I mean, the talent pool that they had at the initiative was amazing, and that's why it was hailed as this quadruple A studio. But in saying that, bringing all these people together doesn't mean that they're going to work well together.
Exactly,
And culture within a studio is so important, and it's hard to build. It really is hard to build, and you just don't know how well you're going to work with someone until you actually start working with them. And I think that's another reason why Microsoft brought Crystal Dynamics in, a proven team that's proven to make AAA great quality games. Gallagher's already led them in the past, so he can lead them again, and hopefully it can all come together. But we have to say that Perfect Dark development process has not been smooth. This is just,
just to add to that, Jedi. Just to add to that, I mean, I agree with you 100% there. But another thing that's concerning to me, these are not like low-end spots. Not to diminish anybody that works in any spot at a company, but these are leads.
Yep.
A lot of these people are leads. So this is concerning for that reason for me alone, because you had the writers, the lead writers, you had the lead designers. Like, that's major. That type of departure is definitely going to have some type of restructuring going on. I'm not worried about the game coming out good, because Crystal Dynamics is a quality development team. I have no worries about that. I'm just worried about the future of the studio. Like Risk pointed out, how long will Microsoft keep them around? I'm thinking they will. But who knows? Maybe they'll be pushed into being a support studio or something. Maybe they'll be pushed into splitting off into going to different dev teams that Microsoft owns now. Who knows, right? I think they invested enough, and they have somebody in quality like Daryl Gallagher that they'll keep the initiative. But it's definitely something I think is concerning. A lot of Xbox fans I've noticed were kind of like, don't poo-poo, don't speak negative, don't. And it's not that I'm going to speak negative. I'm a positive guy. I'm optimistic. But I think it's okay to realize when something is not looking right, or it's not passing the smell test, right?
I'd 110% agree with that, because King David himself was was staying extremely positive, I think, on Boom Show the other day, and almost kind of, you've seen some of the other big creators sort of gloss over this issue. But if you are losing half of your studio, there is an issue. Now, whether it's like a major issue or it's a small issue, I mean, it could be just the fact that they pulled in too much talent. You've got too many talented people who had big heads. They expected to have more creative control, that sort of thing. Like maybe that was their mistake.
Let's get too many chefs or something in the kitchen. I think that was a good analogy.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Basically, was what I was saying. Look, it's just I don't think it's a bad thing that the studio dies. It was an experiment. They said it was an experiment from day dot. It wasn't something that they knew was going to work, but it's awesome that they tried. So like in that way, it is a positive thing. Hey, they tried. They probably learned some things from trying to set the studio up. And sure, it didn't fly. And that's not to say they won't try and set up another one. Or look, I could be completely wrong and this studio sticks around and it becomes one of the best.
I think the initiative experiment is the reason why Microsoft have started to buy studios outright. I think they've realized how incredibly difficult it is, even with the talent, to put a studio together, and it's just a hell of a lot easier to buy a studio outright who already have the culture, who are already experienced with working together. You know, everybody knows their place, everybody knows their role, everybody knows their job, and development is hard at the best of times, and I think that's... Yeah, this experiment is failed. Like you said, Brisket. I really
finish my purpose in there too, Jedi. Just to point out, by the way, I listened to a few people. I listened to the Alana Pierce clip that you guys pointed out to me, Jedi, and the Risk. And she kind of came to the same conclusion you just did, Jedi. And then also, Risk, if you all haven't watched it, check out Checkpoint with Miles Dampierre and Jez. Guys. And Miles, I mean, Jez, he has a lot of insider information. He has a lot of contacts. By hearing him alleviated a lot of my concerns, because he spoke on it and said he talked to people in the know, trusted people in the background, who told him, gave him information to let him know that there's not too much to worry about. So he said he's not worried anymore, and if he's not that worried, and he's a pretty straightforward guy, he doesn't sugarcoat. And if he's saying that I'm less concerned as far as that goes, as far as the game will go, I think we're all agreed there. I think the game will turn out fine. I'm just worried about the studio itself as far as how things will go and how long the game will take to get out. That makes sense.
We've had a question come through in the chat. Just before you do, we've had a question come through in the chat. It's Doovie. Said Perfect Dark is my most anticipated game coming from Xbox. Is it okay not to be worried? I asked because the head's still there. Yeah, well, this is exactly what we're saying, Doovie. Like, I don't think there's anything to worry about with the game. Before we move to you, Jack, look, if you've just joined us and you're new to the channel, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe. If you are enjoying the show, we go live every week now at 8 p.m. EST because you guys changed all your clocks on me. This is Xbox Infinite. Like I said, we go live every week at 8 p.m. Going to you, Jack.
Yeah, no. So
8 p.m. Eastern time.
Eastern time, correct. Yeah. No. So out of curiosity, and I just want to pose this to the panel, to all of you. So do I come off in terms of the concerns I voiced about this? Because I'll be honest, I think this is... I hear what people are saying. Jez is saying this and that. But in the back of my head, obviously, this is a man that works for Windows Central. So when you hear things, I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying, from where I'm sitting, I think it's logical to cast some form of aspersion on the 100% of that, if you will.
You think it's damage control slightly, or?
I think it's more. I feel really weird about this, Risket, because
how
I hear what
are
you
they
all
associated with Microsoft, but Windows Central? I wouldn't say that, Umbra. I think that's unfair. I think he does a pretty good job, and he's called
sure,
Microsoft
and
out
I
in the
agree.
past.
No, and I'm not questioning his journalistic integrity. I'm simply saying that what we have here, ultimately, right, is a studio that was promised, right, to be a quadruple A. That is not a light claim to make, right? And we're in 2022. There's so many great studios working for all these, whether it's Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, what have you. I honestly feel that this is a borderline apocalypse scenario, and I get the feeling that I do. No, I really do, and I get the feeling. I think this just reflects on a managerial. I mean, you assemble so much talent, which we've established,
Mhm.
and they're leaving you to creative differences, and that speaks to a great problem in terms of just the broadest vision for the project, for the studio. And I think when there was so much hype and so much promise around the initiative and everything it was going to be working on, and then we're waking up to see this, I honestly think it's really
valid
bad.
it's a valid concern. I'm not saying it's definitely not. I'll go to you in 2 seconds, Panda. It's not, we talked about this earlier in the week, me and you. It's definitely a valid concern, and we have since Lionhead Studios. Like you said earlier on, are we seeing another Lionhead? No, I think you're seeing the opposite of another Lionhead Studios. I think the problem is they've overcorrected too far to the other side, where they were too hands-on and were ruining games and directing games from the top. They've now gone completely the other way, and they're not helping the studio with directions. And I think you need to do that. You need to give the studio some sort of direction. It's like Dad comes in and he has a look at your homework. And you're like, Dad, what do you reckon? And he says nothing and walks out. And you're like, I just keep doing what I'm doing, or I don't know what I should do. But if Dad comes in and goes, yeah, look, that's good, but do this, and maybe try that, and maybe try that, see how you go, then you've got some direction. You'll probably have better homework. Maybe that's a bad analogy, but that's kind of what I think that Xbox needs to just slightly, not overcorrect back the other way, but just slightly correct to the middle here, and give these guys some direction of what they want from them. Panda?
So
I agree.
I was gonna say that, like, anytime you've got a new studio or anything like that, you do have to. It takes a while to build up, as you guys are saying, but they really need to make sure that they stay a lot more on top of them. But I guess my hope here is that, if with the experiment seeming that it's failed for what they were wanting to do, to build it out into a proper studio and build it out that way and build your culture slowly. I mean, and while they're doing that, they've got Crystal Dynamics working on the game. But again, a lot of the developers who joined the studio based off the promises of it being quadruple A would have had walked into there with expectations being rather high about what they were hoping to walk into, and if it doesn't match that, then you're not going to be happy, and you're most likely going to go off somewhere else. And I feel like the expectations for the studio, even as a gamer for us, looking from the outside, was we have very high expectations for them as well.
Yeah,
so
when you look at the talent that was at the initiative, sorry, Hargeet, I was just going to say that talent pool was amazing, and it is disappointing that they couldn't come together and build the culture they were after. But you go, Hargeet, mate. Sorry to interrupt.
So, we're kind of concerned about a lot of things. Now, this isn't the first time Microsoft's created a studio. We've had other ones that have been successful, right? So, this isn't the first time. Now, to your point of should they be more involved or less involved, when you're creating a new studio, you might have to be involved. And part of that process is, if you're going to go get the head of every other area, right? Hey, I made God of War, I made, Tomb Raider. Okay, well, these people are going to clash, because they're going to say, well, I made this and I made, and they're both going to say, I'm the god here, not you. And that's just going to happen, right? And you have to earn your trust. So if you're going to say Gallagher is the head of this, and you have another person's like, I made a more popular franchise, go away, right? That's going to happen, right? And egos do matter. And when they don't get their say, then this is what happens, right? So, and that is unfortunately what they did. They got a lot of people from a lot of major titles out there and put them all in one place, and they didn't have that earned trust yet. And this is what you end up with, right? So there could have been a potential where they say, okay, we're going to make sub teams, and you can go do your own thing, and you can go do your own thing. But to have one person, take over that kind of talent, it just was never going to work unless you have something like that. You have to do team building. You have to create that trust. And that was just not going to happen organically. So back to Sony's organic growth. But, it can work. But that's where I think this thing blew up. So they probably did have to do something. And Microsoft has been, to the point that I've been hearing, going after studios that have developed stuff and have put it out there on their own, so that have had success on their own ever since then, right? So and that is part of and parcel of their strategy. Hey, let's just go get people that actually can make games, because look, they bought Compulsion. Have they put anything out? They bought
No.
the State of Decay folks. Undead Labs. Have they put anything out? And I could go on, right? There's several, but then you go by Obsidian. Obsidian's already put out games, right? They put out several games. NXL's put out a game. There's other ones that they bought. They're like, you guys have actually done stuff and you can deliver. That's great. Go make stuff happen. Wherever they've had to invest, it's been slow going, right? Another one's Ninja Theory, who has delivered games, but where's their game? They had Bleeding Edge, which was a total whatever, and now we have nothing from them for a while, right? They usually were a little faster, but this is what's happening, right? So
yeah, Bleeding
I think
Edge
they're
is a
kind of
very
realizing
very
that.
small team that worked on that.
Passion,
Sorry,
yeah.
I wasn't laughing at you, Hargate. I was laughing at the footage that's on screen at the
Oh
moment.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny to keep watching all this over and over dying.
I struggled. I struggled with this. This game is like we'll get to this game a little bit later, but it's extremely, extremely difficult to control. And I was gonna if I play badly, I'm still gonna stick it on screen because it's a laugh. I was waiting for someone to pick up on this, and
I was just watching. I was like, "Oh, for awesome!" and W. And
I was watching for like the last 10 minutes of you hitting that damn sign.
I had to mute myself twice. I was laughing.
But I'm determined,
So as far
right? Determined.
So yes, sorry. So as far as the future of the initiative, I don't think it's actually that dire. I think Gallagher has had success in the past. He knows what he's doing, and if he just constructs a team like that, fair enough. They could continue and make great games. It won't be what we were originally thinking. And that quadruple A thing, I'm not sure if it was actually real. I think it might have been a typo in somebody's HR request for resumes. So I'm not sure it actually ever was promoted as a quadruple
They
A team.
did post it on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn,
exactly.
They
It was
were
a
hiring
LinkedIn
for
request for hire. Yeah, exactly. But I
They
think it
went
was just a
around with the
typo for a
hype that
AAA. But
yeah.
I think they went
So I
around
don't know
with
if it's
the
actually
hype and
officially
marketing
quadruple.
for bringing actual talent in.
Yeah, and I
they
think that
went
was kind
with
of the
it.
negative of this,
Yeah.
right? I think we've
I
all
think
kind of
so as
circled
well.
on that.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
think they should have been
let's go
very
get the
careful
top
with what they
talent.
hope for. Yeah.
Yeah, and just put them in a
Well,
room and
okay.
hopefully it all works. Yeah, that doesn't work, especially when you have creative people like they want to own what they're doing. And it's like, well, I'm going to pull over that way. Like, I know I want to do this thing, and that just unfortunately it can be a clash.
Jury duty at that point.
What was that? Sorry.
I said it just becomes jury duty at that point when you're locked in a room and you're trying
Yeah.
to come together.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm usually on the other side of that, so yeah, I feel you.
Hey, I've got a question for you
It's never
guys.
happy to see me.
I've got a question for you guys and the guys in the chat. With the initiative, we know that they were brought together. Even the name implies that they got this, this initiative to bring forward, I think, old IP. That's what it seems to be, right? Seeing how they targeted Perfect
I
Dark.
think the initiative has to do with the old Perfect Dark IP. I think it was.
I think it's more than that, though.
Well, I have
I think it's
Yeah.
more than. I think it's
like
more than that. My
343,
question.
It's like the coalition,
my-
I think, but
You might be right, but I think it's more than that because I don't think Perfect Dark warrants a quote unquote quadruple
Studio,
A.
yeah.
And even though they weren't, they never built that. That was a misprint. But let's say I'm doing quotation fingers, quote unquote quadruple A studio. I don't think the Perfect Dark IP warrants that personally.
Yeah.
But this is my question to the chat and to you guys. Do you think the initiative after Perfect Dark will focus on other dormant or dormant IP or make a new IP altogether? What do you think will happen in the future?
They're gonna put that
they're
horse
going to
down.
be exactly just like 343 makes Halo, and just like Gears, the Coalition make Gears. I think the initiative have been brought on to make Perfect Dark. And I get you. I suppose you're right. The only reason that Perfect Dark exists is because they couldn't get the GoldenEye license. That's it. They basically made GoldenEye in a different world. But that's why it was initially made. In saying that, I think Joanna Dark could be a great protagonist for Xbox. The reason why they made Perfect Dark, I mean, Phil Spencer said it, is they wanted a lead female. They had Master Chief, they had Marcus Phoenix, they wanted a female to be front and center. It's the reason they made the deal with Crystal Dynamics for Joanna Dark. They wanted to put a female on the Xbox boxes. They wanted to promote female protagonists, and I think that they will stick with it. Look, it all depends on how well the game goes down, but I don't think Microsoft will allow this game to fail. And you know what? I think it'll be a great game. I think Joanna Dark's really cool. I think that spy genre is really, really cool. So, and there's a lot of different ways they can go with this. So I hope it's successful. I hope they keep making this IP. I think it can be a great IP for Xbox going forward.
We'll go to everyone on the panel, and then we'll wrap up this topic because we could talk about this all day. I could. Channing, do you think that? Sorry, Hargeet. Do you think that we'll see anything different in the way of IP from the initiative, or do you think we'll see another Perfect Dark?
Well, hopefully not a Perfect Dark. I think what would originally, the thought that most of the people who left had was that we're going to do a new IP, right? Something totally new, totally different, right? And try to do some new techniques and whatnot in gaming. And I think that just kind of fell apart when they went down the Perfect Dark route. And basically it became, hey, let's make a Tomb Raider style reboot of Perfect Dark instead. And that limited what they could do. It would be really cool if they actually did a new IP, right? Something totally brand new with different style, different everything. I don't know that they're going to be able to do that anymore. That's the part that's kind of disappointing here, is that I wish they would just taken those people and put them in another team and said, hey, why don't you guys go try to do something totally completely new and blow our minds away, right? So try something absolutely, with a new IP. And unfortunately that just isn't going to happen. So I think what, I think I'm like you're saying, I think this is going to be the studio that takes old IP and does something with it. So you can see them making, a bigger budget version of something else they've previously had. I think that's what's going to happen. Or they'll just continue to make, Perfect Dark. If Perfect Dark lands really well, I think that's what will end up happening.
What about you, Panda and Jack? Just to get this out of the way and so we can move on.
Yeah, I think my position, obviously, and by giving this position, obviously, you're never going to invite me back on. But no, I think it's bad. I think, I know, right? Yeah, this is going to be the last you're ever going to hear from me. But no, I think it's really bad. I want to be as optimistic as you guys. I think everything I've seen, and Risk It was talking about how he thought it was sort of opposite to what he was saying at Lionhead, but what I'm hearing is that
but do you think they're going to be making the Perfect Dark going forward, or do you think that they're going to make a new IP?
Choice. Yeah. I think at this point there's too much. There's too much money in PR and interest sunk into this game. I don't know what the foundational architecture of the development is, how far along they are. I don't think anybody really does concretely. We got a trailer. So the game will be made. I think it has to be made for very obvious reasons, the likes of which we don't have to really enumerate on. I think I also agree with you, Jedi, when you were talking about the initiative being shuttered. I think that's a prized horse that needs to be taken out back and dealt with. I think it was a failed experiment. I think that's bad. And I really, honestly, as much as I would love to see sort of the silver lining in these very, dark clouds, I'm just not. And I hope I'm wrong, but I think this is bad across the board. And
but do you say the game's successful? Say you're completely wrong. And
sure.
you probably got it. So say it is. So hang on, say it is. Do you think that they'll continue on with the Perfect Dark? I mean, look, if the game's successful, will they make another Perfect Dark, or do you think that they'll turn and pivot and focus on a new IP?
I want to say, I almost want to agree with Shawnee. I want to go with new IP. I think Perfect Dark will now in-house be synonymous with chaos, and they will just want something new.
Yeah. Panda? Panda?
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I think that we're going to get another Perfect Dark if it's successful. But I think they'll probably do another IP in between that. And I'm hoping that it's not just going to be from Xbox's list of IPs that are currently on ice. I hope it is a brand new IP, because I would really, really like some more new IP. I mean, there's so many studios that Xbox has now and Microsoft has that you're going to see lots of new IPs, but it's just really nice to kind of have new experiences and allow developers to curate that for us and experience that, because that's what I like about games. Opening, expanding my horizons in that. So I'm hoping that if it does well, there will be another one. However, I think they're going to do a IP in between, and fingers crossed it's new. They might pull something else out of ice, because that's what Daryl Gallagher does. Is on top of that, he's just very successful at rebooting old franchises.
I think I know what we all want. Umbra, did you want to top the topic off?
No, we should move on. I think we've spoken about this enough. Just want to say hello to everyone in the chat. Monad, Boba.
Hang on 2 seconds. I just wanted to get Umbra's thoughts to his own question.
Yeah, just to get my own thoughts, I would like them to expand. I want them to do more than just Perfect Dark, but I feel like that for a lot of Microsoft teams. I think 343 should do more than just Halo, although maybe not. Maybe they need to stay dedicated. Now, never mind about 343, but the Coalition, I would like to have them do more than just Gears, and other studios, major big studios too.
343 can just concentrate on putting actual content out.
Yeah, into Infinite. Yeah.
Okay, well, look, we'll move on to the next topic. This will be a pretty short topic. EA Play was cancelled. Look, I don't feel any way about this, really. I think EA have got a lot of problems in-house that need to sort out, especially with Battlefield 2042. So, it's probably a good thing they cancelled it.
That's a perfect game, mate.
Yeah, probably a very good thing that it was cancelled. Did you guys have anything you wanted to... you were a bit upset that they didn't have EA Play? I mean, I don't. The state of EA at the moment. Huggy?
I said yawn. Whatever.
Yeah.
If they have any game that's worth talking about, it's probably going to be like, Fallen
Dragon
Order or
Age.
something like that. And and they can put that on somebody else's stage, right? So you might just see that on Xbox's E3 presentation or something. I don't remember, right?
That'd be
We're
great.
going to get FIFA 5000 and, whatever
Yeah, and
other
EA's
sports game
bundled
they
into
got
Game Pass,
going,
right?
and,
So
I
think
maybe the
that's
Sims 7,
if they have
they've
two
got
things,
some DLC, which is way overpriced. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I think they have a lot of delays. That's probably what this really means, right? They don't have anything coming this fall or something like that, or maybe 1 or 2 games, and whatever they are, they'll just be on a Sony or a Microsoft presentation.
It does. It does feel like a back end of Sony type year. Anyway, moving on. We'll go to the. So we're talking about Halo. So let's have a chat about Halo and the lack of content. So first of all, the Halo TV show is scored at the moment on Rotten Tomatoes at a 60, which is typically not a great score. Now, there's a lot of things coming out from a lot of different people about this. There's a lot of Hollywood types not really gelling with the IP, I think, itself. And then there's a lot of talk. I think people have only seen 1 to 2 episodes. It's pretty hard to judge a show on 2 episodes. But from what we're hearing from the video game side of things, that this has potential. So I'm not too worried about the Halo TV show just yet. But it is coming up pretty quick. I think it's the 26th of May. And I'm pretty excited for this thing. Umbra, you're a massive Halo fan. You getting excited for this? We'll also be tying in the Halo Battle Royale reports of that is in development by a side studio who's also developing another game as well, actually. But Umbra, you're a massive fan of Halo. You concerned about the reviews so far?
I'm a little partially concerned because the only thing that really concerned me was when they put a report that said they didn't look at the games, and I was like, oh no. So immediately I was like, no. And Hollywood, let's just be honest, Hollywood isn't known to turn out too many quality games to video or to movie or silver screen, small screen type products. We just know it's true. It's very rare that they come out great. So I'm a little worried for that reason. But then I started hearing more positives. So a lot of people said it's closer to the books in some ways. So that's a positive. And they said that it's very mature as far as the violence and things like that. That some people put it as a negative. I'm like, that's not a negative to me. So I'm cautiously optimistic, as I guess the best way I can put it.
So people,
I think I'm more that way because I just don't want it to fail. You know what I mean? I want it to be great. So I'm excited for it. I still believe in the project. I'm just a little worried when I saw certain things in the mixed reviews.
So people were saying that the violence is a bad thing because, I mean, Halo's not all fluffy pillows and fairy floss. So I can't imagine that. How would you make a Halo without violence? That's weird.
What I want to know.
It's a very weird criticism. Pete, are you concerned about the state of the Halo reviews?
No, not really, because when you look at it, all the Hollywood types are the ones that are rating it quite low, but all the video game journalists are rating it quite high. That actually makes me more excited because I don't really care about what Hollywood types think. To be honest, they really don't know about the lore. They don't know about the story. If anything, it says to me that they're actually going to be sticking to the lore a lot more than I thought they would have. And I hope that they do justice to the books and to the lore, and they stick with it. That was one of my major concerns with Halo, and this seems to have alleviated some of them. So I'm actually quite happy that if they go in that direction. And you know what? If they get us hardcore gamers to like the show through word of mouth, the show will be successful because we will be the ones pushing it. We'll be the ones that are in love with it. We were the ones that love this franchise. We're the ones that want this franchise to succeed. And so, if anything, I'm more excited for the show than I was before. But what do you think about this, Panda? Are you happy? I know you love playing Halo, and I know you love, you've just gotten into Infinite recently, and you've playing it non-stop. So, what do you think about the TV show?
Yeah, I could beat you blindfolded now. That's much to play that.
Sorry. I
I
think
could use one
coming
hand on the
through,
controller and beat you. Yeah.
Band.
She's not lying.
I don't even have to do anything. You just walking under things and they drop on you and you die. So anyway,
that's because I'm constantly saving you
whatever. Whatever.
while you
From
steal my
underneath the-
kills.
From
You just need all
underneath the
those
space
assists.
tank that fell on you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I put a thing in the community game night chat. 15 assists. That's because Panda just sits behind you and steals your kills.
No, I'm just a better shot than you.
Oh,
Anyway, the Halo, the TV show. I'm gonna watch it. I am happy to watch that. I really, honestly, reviews. I don't know what it is. I don't pay any attention to like movie or TV show reviews. I've watched so much stuff that I can generally make up my mind very quickly if I'm gonna like it or not. And I think I'm gonna be fine with Halo. I don't know if it's gonna like blow my mind on some of the stuff that is happening in TV shows nowadays, but I think it's a brilliant IP with so much lore and just richness to it. And it doesn't just need to be held and coveted by gamers. It should be out for other people to enjoy and experience, and hopefully has a flow-on effect of bringing more people to the franchise itself. I think that would be a lovely thing, like how the Witcher series really took off. Yeah, so fingers crossed. I'm gonna watch it regardless of how it reviews because it's obviously Halo, but that's just me.
What about you, Jack? Any concerns about the Halo TV show?
The thing with it is, I think anytime, no matter what forum it is, right? Metacritic's a prime example. When something gets a review that we might consider to be less, there's cause for alarm. Reviews are reviews. Do I put the utmost stock in it? No, absolutely not. I'm like you. I'm a Halo fan. In fact, it was Umbra who actually just allayed a lot of my concerns. I wasn't aware that it had been put out that they were keeping it more in line with sort of the lore of the novels, which is great because I've read them. So we've all talked about how much we would like to see a Halo expanded universe. This war went on for so long. There were so many different players and events. So actually, I was actually going to be a little bit more negative up until about 90 seconds ago. So thank you, Umbra. I do appreciate that enlightening piece of information. I think the cast is great. Yeah, I appreciate it. No, I mean, I'm optimistic. I'm gonna watch it. I think Pablo Schreiber. I think the clips we've heard, because I've actually met the Master Chief. He sounds vaguely reminiscent of what you would imagine him to be. It's great to have Jen Taylor once again reprising a role, voicing Cortana. So for those of us that are dinosaurs, and started at the beginning of Halo. That's always, nice. We can all reminisce on that. Bokeem Woodbine, class actor, amazing actor. Natasha McElhenney, fantastic. I think the cast is great. I think it'll be very interesting. I'm going to watch it. I'm super excited. I'm going to keep an open mind. But yeah, if you're asking, ultimately, is there some concern? Yeah, of course, there's some concern. The project of this magnitude, and everything it means to those of us that have grown up and played Halo from Combat Evolved. I remember playing as a little kid on a sleepover at a friend's house.
Is that concern, or is that apprehension because you love it so much?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's not. I think it is concern, not apprehension. I'm not apprehensive because I'm definitely going to watch it. There was never a moment where I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe. I'm not apprehensive. I'm going into it. I'm giving it, with the most open mind possible. I want it to succeed more than I've wanted any, game to, screen adaptation to sort of succeed.
Devil's advocate here.
Same here, brother.
Just because,
feel
like,
you.
if you
Sure, go for it.
if not a legitimate one, this is more like just a joke. It's if you can sit through and watch Risket's gameplay, I'm sure
I can't
you
though.
can
That's the
sit
problem. It
through
is
and
so
watch Halo.
impressively
So,
bad.
I mean, it is a comedy, but Halo's a lot more serious. But just want to point that out there. We can stomach the
Whoever this
gameplay, we
biker
can
is
stomach
has
Halo.
faced whoever
See,
this
that's
biker is has faced unsurmountable death like so many
Yes.
times in this clip.
I
He
mean,
falls off the mountain so many times.
I challenge
time
I challenge any of you to ride as well as I ride. I'm like the winner.
Rod,
I
what,
did terrible
away from
too. Don't feel bad.
Death and disappointment.
No, look at his gamer score. He's obviously not a real gamer, guys. You got to give him a
Oh
break.
my
And you
god.
can't get
Yeah,
achievements because you can't get through a stage.
I played Battlefield for like 10 years, all right? I'll 1v1 any of you. All of you at once.
And
Hargeet, let's go.
You're one. I like this.
Let's get off my gameplay. Go to Hargeet. Look, are you concerned about the state of the Halo TV show and the reviews that are coming out? They're mixed,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, so I mean, Jedi was saying that Hollywood reviewers and I just stopped there at Hollywood itself. I'm just kind of meh. I haven't watched anything from Hollywood in the last like 2 years because I just don't care anymore. They always come up with crap. So I've never had any enthusiasm for this. So if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. I'm certainly not getting Paramount Plus just to watch it. So
Well, you don't
it'll
need
be
to
whatever it
because
is.
Monad just announced that Xbox Wire, Xbox Ultimate membership will get 30 free days of Paramount Plus starting
That
March
is up.
23rd. So
Yes,
it's
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, and how long
But
how
New
long
Zealand
before
though,
this thing
right?
is finished?
I don't
I'd
know,
say
mate, but I'm sure they'll keep it going for the
I'd
Halo
say
show.
they dropped the entire season in one drop. I would say
In one
that's
drop, you
what that
think?
would do. Yeah, I don't think.
Paramount aren't known for doing that. They don't do
Yeah.
they don't do a Netflix drop, but we'll see.
Well, I
You
think
can
that's a
redeem that at
brilliant
any
move.
point, right?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you can redeem that at any point, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, they give you a
Sorry, Haggy,
timeline to.
Yeah, I
kind
think
of,
that's a
yeah.
brilliant move to actually get more views. I think it'll actually make people watch it, right? Because it'll just be there for free. What the heck? This is just the standard beauty of Game Pass, right?
Yeah, well, look at we were talking about this. I was actually talking about this. I'm pretty sure it was with Monad, and I think Pete was there as well. That this would be a super smart move to drop it as one of the rewards that you can pick up from Game Pass or the Xbox rewards.
Oh,
And it would
yeah, I like this.
it would
You said it
definitely
to me too. I remember you talking about that before this happened.
Yeah, it's a very, very clever move, and I would bet that it's actually part of the deal that Microsoft had with Paramount initially as well. So that's really cool, but let's get on to the rumors about the Halo Battle Royale. Now, I did my nana, which is an Aussie saying of way of saying I lost my shit, because I thought they were going to pull Halo into a Warzone type, and I'm not talking about Warzone as in Halo's Warzone, but a Warzone type Call of Duty type game mode, and I was not keen. I am so sick of Battle Royales. I don't want to see any more, but it doesn't seem like that's what this is. They were talking about it being a more accessible type Warzone, Halo type Warzone thing with PvP, but also with PvE included, which is, again, awesome because, look, we all know the bots in Halo Infinite are really second to none. They are the best bots. If you play those bots on Spartan difficulty, you're going to get your ass kicked. It's 100 tips. I don't care how good you are. They are going to kick your ass. So that would be an amazing thing for them to do. But Umbra, look, you've looked into this quite a bit. How are you feeling about this whole Halo Battle Royale being developed by, I forget the name of the developers, one of the assisting developers on it. Can't think of the name.
I am, I think, surprisingly okay with it. I think because of the lack of content, I'm more like, okay, well, if they can do this and actually create more content and more reasons for us to get back on Halo, I'm all for it. Right now, I haven't been on Halo because of Elden Ring, but that's the only thing that really took me away from it. That and the lack of content. So this right here would actually be a major reason to jump back in. I don't want to fall into the thought of Halo needs a BR outside of the battle rifle, right? But maybe they do. Maybe this will help in ways that we didn't see or didn't want to see just because of the classic arena style nature of Halo, right? Maybe we just didn't want that to be the case. But we know that Halo is more or less made to fit that battle royale style. I mean, it really is. I mean, it can have us jump down and drop down like the ODSTs. We actually could. It makes sense. So I'm okay with it for now. I don't want to shoo away any creative ideas. It's all in the implementation and how they bring it about. So I don't want to write anything off before I actually see it and play it and experience it. I guess it's my take. Also, it depends on who's actually doing this work, who's the developer right now that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And if they're quality, I'll give them leeway and say, hey, let's see what turns out. And by the way, if it's a Warzone style thing, which I thought they should have kept anyway, that and the Horde mode style thing they had, it's something I think that should have been part of the launch package anyway. It just makes sense. It gives the multiplayer so much more diversity, in my opinion. So I'm okay with this. Actually, I want to see what they can do.
Yeah, right. It was dropped by Halo Hub. I can't actually find the tweet that it was on, but what they're saying is that it's very Warzone-like. Some Warzone-themed options in there with the ability to respawn via drop pods, containment zone toggles, and a lot more are available in some of the some photographs that have leaked. So, look, yeah, I agree with you, Umbra. If it's anything like the Warzone we got of Halo 5, that was a great mode. I don't know why they didn't include it day one. Obviously because they weren't ready and they should have delayed Halo. Shout out to Gaz. Huggy, are you a Halo player? I know we've played a few times. Are you keen for Warzone? Did you play 5's iteration?
I did not play 5's Warzone, but I think anything extra is good. I like more stuff just means more, more varied groups of people will play it. That's a good thing. Good engagement for the game keeps it, going, and we get more other stuff that I might be interested in, right? So I've never tried it, so it might be good. I have tried very, very little bit of PUBG, and I'm like, I don't like this. So I don't know if I'll like a Warzone here. I like Halo in general, so maybe I will. So like if there is an equivalent, like a Call of Duty Warzone equivalent here, maybe it is something I would try out, and it could be fun. But I just think content. They just need content. More maps would be awesome. There was Firefight, which that would be nice to have too. I think the bots are already there. It's just changing some configuration to give you Firefight. So it'd be pretty cool to have these things added in. Why it's taking this long, I don't know, but whatever. So maybe this is why you need to have $4 billion worth of Bungie to actually be able to make content. But I don't know what's going on with 343. They really need to kind of get their act together here.
Yeah, 110%. We've talked about this ad nauseum, especially the Bonnie Ross issue, as we like to call her. Panda, are you excited for this new Warzone?
I don't care. To be honest, just I don't care. Like, I'm not gonna. I'm happy. Like, as Pete said, I've recently been introduced to Halo multiplayer, and I'm loving it. So, I don't know. We'll see how I feel. Like, I don't really play battle royales at all, Warzone or anything like that. So I mean, if we do it on a community game night, then I'll probably play it. But I'm way more excited for Forge than I am for this.
For Forge and co-op, right? Yeah. Well, look, I think that not dropping a Forge is a massive misstep on their part, because that's content created for them where they don't really have to do any work other than just put Forge there for the players. A massive misstep. There's been a lot of missteps by 343, and like I said, we have talked about them on this show ad nauseum. Jedi, are you looking forward to this Warzone if it's anything like what we saw with Halo 5?
Yeah, look, I loved Warzone in Halo 5. I love that PvE, PvP aspect, except when you were killing a boss and then you'd get killed by somebody else. I like that they're changing it up, and I think Hargeet's right. More content is never a bad thing, as long as it just doesn't take away from them making arena shooter maps. So, and I think Forge will help with that. I think it's certain affinity that is helping. That is helping make so they've handed it over to somebody else to make that battle royale mode, and there have been data miners that have been looking into this for a while, and there's been data mine leaks of the announcer saying battle royale and other quotes that have suggested this a while ago. But you know what's more interesting to me? The leaks that suggest the space battles, and the tweet that was put out by Joe Staten that said the Oni Prowler is very underutilized in Halo. And I think that points to the fact that they will be using the Prowler a lot more. And with all the other leaks suggesting space battles, or you got to protect this ship, and I can't remember the exact wording of it, that really interests me, and I think that can take Halo in a whole new direction.
Absolutely.
And it can bring a whole new crowd in, and more eyeballs on Halo is always a good thing, especially with a live service game. So I am incredibly excited for that. Really looking forward to it. I loved the space combat in I think it was Halo 4 when you get up in the Prowlers, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely
Love it.
amazing. Give me more of that, especially against a human opponent. Star Wars Squadron-esque. I love that stuff. Type of stuff.
Was there a space combat in Reach as well?
It was Reached as well. Reach and Part 4 both had it, and I wish they brought it back too. I said the same thing, Jedi. Feel the exact same. So if they actually implement some space battles, oh yes, sign me up.
You don't have to play it all the time, but when you get sick of, killing Panda, you can jump into some space battles and shoot her out of the sky.
Oh my
What are you
god!
talking about?
if
Hey, you killed
Panda.
that game. Fine. Don't create beef where there is none. I'll get you back later.
Can I go
Jack?
quick?
Yeah, mate, yeah.
I absolutely. So here's the thing. I'm 100%, 100% with Umbra, 100% with Jedi on this one. In principle, obviously, because expanding Halo, obviously younger gamers now that perhaps are not our age, battle royale modes tend to be very popular, right? So, out of curiosity, does anyone here on the panel know what Call of Duty, right? Just Warzone, right? Do you know what the MTX fees for that are every day? Do you know? Just give me a number, your best guess. Do you know what they are? What they make every day just off MTX fees?
Every day. I think it's ridiculous. Something like
Over
6
$1 billion.
million or something ridiculous like that.
So it makes $5 million a day, just on MTX fees. Right now, very important when you have this sort of free to play live service type. It's interesting because if you look at something like Fortnite, right, in its first 10 months, Fortnite had already sort of amassed like an audience of 125 million players. I think in 10 months it netted something. It garnered like 1.2 billion in revenue. When the Fortnite app came out on the iPhone, just the iPhone, not Android, not any other OS, and you got to remember iPhone is something that's very common in places, like Australia, like the United States, heavily industrialized countries, but it's not a lot of people have an iPhone. But just on iPhone alone, I want to say it generated something like $2 million a day starting in 2018. So these are incredibly lucrative endeavors in terms of battle royale. There's an immense interest for it, right? We look at a lot of these streamers that are millionaires now, frankly, right? And they became millionaires by playing battle royale games. I think where Pete was completely right, and I really liked what he touched on sort of the lore possibilities. Halo is a game where you can have space combat, where you can get in a drop pod. There's so many ways to go about this. It is incredibly lucrative, and in terms of just if it exists, it's a money printing machine. So I think anytime, like was previously said, you can get eyes on Halo. Great. If it can be this profitable, so much the better. So I'm not the biggest battle royale player. I've actually never played Fortnite in my life, but I'm an anomaly in that regard, apparently.
No, you haven't missed a thing. I got to tell you, that's really not like one of the worst games I've ever played. It's not my thing.
And we might agree with that, and we all obviously when we think of Halo, when we get on, because we play all the time together, that is an arena shooter for us, right? But I think it goes back to the TV show. and I call this all dinosaurs to begin with. Ironic because I think I'm the youngest one here, but we grew up playing Halo Combat Evolved. We're all in our late 20s at the earliest, approaching 30. And I think Halo needs to keep evolving. We want it. You have to walk that line where Halo is still something very reminiscent for guys like us and girls, for people like us, as it were. But it has to be engaging and enough for a new audience. And I think that's what Johnny was saying as well. And I 100% agree with him. I think every one of you made good points, but there's so much money made in this. It is just downright stupid not to dabble in it.
Guys, content
Good
is
point.
Yeah,
I just wanted to add to that that Microsoft have recently fixed their cloud service on iOS, and supposedly since they've done that, there's been a massive take up on it as well, because I know they were having troubles working on it. So yeah, I just wanted to add that
just
in.
to something that you were talking about before, Pete, as well, with the Prowlers and the space combat. That's also a lead into another game. You mentioned Squadron there. Now, Squadron was actually part of Battlefront. Originally, that was a mode in the game that you could play. So, I mean, this not only does this have potential to expand the content for the game itself, it has potential to become content entirely of its own.
Yep.
So,
Agreed.
Well said. Well said.
Just like Warzone, 100%.
Yeah. So, I mean, this. If look, I was initially upset, but if this is done right and done differently, because how many battle royales do we have that are just so same? If they do this right, they do it differently, this could be something absolutely massive. And as Big Mad Mo in the chat said, it took Destiny 8 years to become basically a good game. And look, I don't want it to take that.
And that goes to a few other games. Apex was much the same, as well as Warzone.
What
Took them some time.
Destiny had is the gameplay loop was incredibly fun. The content wasn't there, but wow, that gameplay loop is there. And I think we can all safely say that the Halo combat loop is as good, if not better, than the Destiny gameplay loop. So whatever mode they put into, it's gonna be fun. When you're going up against other human players, that competitive spirit, takes over, and it'll be incredibly fun. Yes, I'm not particularly into battle royales because I'm more old school. Will I play it? Yes, I will play it. Will it bring more eyeballs to Xbox, to Halo? Yes, it will. That's only a good thing. It means there'll be more people to go up against.
Yep, and for me to farm. Look, we're going to move on to the. We're going to move on to the next topic. 1v1 me, bro. No, we'll move on to the next topic. The next topic. Look, this has never ever happened before, and it just shows you where Xbox is really leading the charge. Not just with hardware, but with services. And I would love to say games, but we can't definitively say games yet. We haven't seen enough from their stable of studios for us to say leading the charge with games, but I think they will. Microsoft outsold PlayStation in the USA, which has happened before, but they also outsold PlayStation in Europe. Now, before we get into this, I just want to thank everyone in the chat for turning up. You guys are absolutely amazing. You do power the show. We do this for you. Gone Mad, Grey Monad, Boba Fett Gaming, Brandino, welcome. Snoozy, if you're listening. I know you're floating around there. Mr. Joanna Dart, Doovie, Palpatine, all you guys that turn up every week and make the show what it is. We really appreciate you. Thank you very, very much. If you are new to the show, please hit the like button if you're enjoying the content, and that subscribe button. We do this every week at 8 p.m. EST now, every Friday. And if you're in Australia, it's 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. This is new, and a lot of people are saying that Microsoft only outsold the PlayStation due to supply restrictions. And look, it's a fair point, but I don't think it's the full story. I think that Microsoft is, like I said, leading the charge with services, with just absolutely everything, with their updates, with studios. I think Microsoft, you're going to see in the next few years, really start to steam ahead of the competition, and you can see PlayStation kind of scrambling to catch up. Pretty exciting for me, but I know a lot of people aren't super interested in sales numbers. Hargeet Chatty, are you one of those people that gets a little bit excited when you see Xbox step on the neck of PlayStation?
Well, I suppose it's good from a competition perspective that happens. However, let's just keep in mind Nintendo's still beating both of them, and just quietly keeps owning the market.
bet.
It's just a reality, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Amazing how they continue to do that month after
Yeah.
month.
I know.
yeah,
I know.
you know, so it's nice. It's a good win for Xbox, but again, it is just a supply thing. And as long as if PlayStation had more supply than Xbox, they'd have won. And that's been the case with both of these, since they've launched. Everybody wants them; they're just not available. At some point, that'll taper off where we'll actually have enough supply, and then we'll know what the real demand is. But right now, I mean, yeah, okay, it's a win, but I'm not sure I would give that much of a win to Microsoft. They just had supply. That's it. They had supply, and I think maybe PlayStation tried to pull a lot of the supply for this quarter into last quarter so that they get some more sales in the Christmas time. But yeah, now they're kind of paying for it, right? So I think that's really all it is, and so we'll see how it goes. The flip side of that is, at least there's demand, right? It used to be that, like, outside of the U.S. and Canada and the U.K. maybe, there just wasn't a demand for Xbox. It was a very U.S. centric console.
Well, you missed a country there.
Has it been large in
Yeah, look,
ANZ? I don't know if
Australia in the original Xbox and the Xbox 360 days.
Yeah, but not one, right?
Really, yeah. We are early adopters, as Pete likes to say, Australians are. And
Yeah.
we did take on Xbox, and I think we lost a lot of people in the Xbox TV generation. Yeah.
Yeah, and
so
the problem with that is a lot of people, because we are early adopters of technology, a lot of people bought their PlayStation 4 games digitally, and when you have that much of a library digitally, you want to continue in that ecosystem, and therefore, it wasn't the generation that you wanted to lose. It was devastating in Australia losing that.
Yeah, and I think the answer to that is
generation.
Game Pass. And as much as that's nice that you have a digital library, Game Pass almost makes it irrelevant because they just keep giving you all these games. So it's very hard to say no to something that's so value driven. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But at least there is demand. That's very cool to see. Maybe it isn't the primary console. Maybe it's a secondary console. Fair enough. Microsoft doesn't care. As long as you're giving them money to Game Pass, they're happy, right? So this is good news from that perspective. But yeah, I wouldn't read too much into it. I'm sure if the numbers were flipped, it would be the same. Hey, there wasn't enough supply. Okay, that's just kind of the way it is. So I can see it from both perspectives.
Yeah.
The USA thing isn't that big news because it's basically been very close. Even during the Xbox One generation, the United States was incredibly close in sales number compared to
Yeah,
the
it wasn't that
PlayStation.
far off. It was a few
Exactly,
percentage.
but-
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But the big news is Europe. And yes, I get what you're saying. Supply constraints have a massive part in the numbers. But in saying that, I would have thought that PlayStation would have kept a large number of PS5s out for when Horizon Forbidden West dropped. That is meant to
100%
be one of their big IPs. And if you go by what PlayStation have been doing, they rely heavily on these first-party games for console sales. It's why they're exclusive. It's why they don't do day and date. And I would think that it would be incredibly concerning within PlayStation that Xbox outsold them when they launched Horizon Forbidden West, which they have been marketing for the last 2 years and probably marketed, as their second biggest IP, or maybe the third, apart from The Last of Us and God of War. So I think it is concerning news for PlayStation. I agree that supply constraints have a lot to do with it. Like I said, I think they should have saved some PS5s for that launch.
Yeah, my thoughts are much in line with you guys. Typically, I think, not typically, but basically, I'm torn too because it's probably a lot to do with the supply constraint. I mean, to be fair, we got to give it that. But I don't care. Microsoft prepared for it. They had the S, and they're winning because of it. So kudos to Microsoft for having a foresight to see this ahead of time, knowing about the chip situation. So hey, their loss is Microsoft's gain, regardless of how it got to that point. And I think because of that saturation, and like Hargeet pointed out a minute ago, the Game Pass situation is going to tide them over once they get into the ecosystem and actually start getting into Game Pass like that. It's only going to spread further and further and keep these people who may have bought the S thinking, well, okay, I'll keep this as a second option or a third secondary or third option. well, it's going to eventually become their first option after so long, especially when Microsoft starts having these games rolling out back to back in each quarter, like we know they're planning to do. So it's a win one way or another.
Word of mouth is king, isn't it? And once people get these kind of the Xbox consoles into their hands and realize how incredibly good Game Pass is in terms of value, that word of mouth will travel. I mean, it's not like the Xbox One generation where it was just negative press after negative press after negative press from Microsoft. And I think a lot of it was a little bit undeserved. I mean, some of it, yes, deserved, but a lot of it was undeserved. Especially at the start of the generation where there was so much talk about resolution, where really, I don't think if you watch Digital Foundry, you could really tell the difference. But in saying that, that has really been flipped.
800%.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think
it was fun. It was popular to hate on Xbox at that time. You're right.
Well, I think a lot of people, and I think Game Pass again is very. I had a very interesting experience with it this morning. A proverbial what the fuck moment, if you will. Panda was privy to it because we were playing Halo at the time. But I think a lot of and maybe it's lost on guys like me and Umbra and Shawnee. You know, obviously being Americans and all, and not having to pay these extortionate, but at least by our standards.
Oh no, I'm aware. I know.
Yeah,
it is very expensive outside of America.
It is, and I think I got on this morning, and in between Halo games, I was talking to Panda and Pete a bit, and I decided I was going to go download Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. I'm a big Borderlands guy. I was looking forward to that, and I looked at the screen. And it said $109, and I had this and that was the lowest cost. Like the highest was like $149.99. And I had a brick shit moment, until I realized that my Xbox was still set to New Zealand for Elden Ring, so I could play it early. And I think that's, you look at that and you're like, in America, it's a little different, the prices aren't that bad. But you look at a place like Europe, where the prices aren't marginally different,
Yeah.
And there is an enormously measured financial impact of having access to something like Game Pass, when $60 for us is over $100 for them, or it's £95 or what have you. It's very good to see. I think a lot of it is supply. It is basic supply side economics. That's definitely true. Microsoft logistically is a titan compared to Sony. It's like 16 and a half times its market cap. Excuse me. So there's something to be said for that. And the dual SKU, dual SKU approach obviously has been paying off dividends, both literally and figuratively. But yeah, Game Pass is great. I was a PlayStation majority gamer now. I used my PlayStation. I think I did my last weekly power check a couple days ago.
Oh, I've actually been using mine, which is crazy.
As a dog park.
No. Like I found an awesome use for it. It can actually charge my Xbox controller while I play. So.
Gone Mad did ask a question in the chat. What games would you wouldn't have touched if they weren't on Game Pass?
And you were doing
it.
So many.
Yeah.
One of the best things. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of the best things they could have done is taken this game, Elden Ring, and because they had it, right? They had to approve it, right? So they know what they had, and they should have put this in Game Pass. I know it would have cost them like $1 billion. Well worth it, because the freaking marketing they would get to have a gaudy level game like this go day and date in Game Pass, it would have blown up Game Pass, right? There's 12 million people who bought this game. How many of those would have bought just Game Pass? Right,
Exactly.
It's just a ridiculously awesome thing. They should have just done it. But I don't know. I'm not their marketing team, but I would have totally just done it. Like they knew what this game is. They knew what this game is.
The Elden Ring, didn't they?
They did. They did.
Ago, it was on the stage.
And then Keeley stole it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I said that as well in one of the early podcasts, and a lot of people pushed back against it just because. I do agree with them. I don't think From Software would have wanted that, and I mean, I think From. More than anyone knew what they had, and I don't think we've talked about it yet. But 12 million, sales of the game in 18 days. Yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy. Look, I was one of the guys that pushed back and said that the From Software was never going to allow that. PlayStation would step in, I think, on that. I can't see Microsoft being able to ever get that deal through for Game Pass. You give it a year, yeah, absolutely. On release, I don't think they ever had any chance of getting this into Game Pass, and I don't think it was. I doubt I highly doubt that they didn't try. I bet they tried. I'm sure they had those meetings, but I don't think From Software would have been like, no. We know what we got, and we also know where our main player base is. Because let's be honest, the main player base is traditionally has been on PlayStation. So I think it would have been a bit of a misstep for From Software to put this into Game Pass.
I think
Not
Xbox
really, because
is
it
lucky
gives them
to
a
get
new-
this game because I think PlayStation would have tried very, very hard to get this
To
game
make it
as an
exclusive.
exclusive. Yeah,
Yep.
and don't forget that they're across the road from each other, From Software and PlayStation in Japan. Very,
They probably
very
made
easy
it.
for
They
them to talk to
probably
each
were
other.
like went very hard to make sure this didn't go into Game Pass as well.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
that's true.
Yeah,
yes,
that would be on
yes. What
Sony's side of it,
PlayStation
right?
have
Yeah.
been paying
I think-
money. I think Resident Evil 8 is a perfect example of paying companies money for the games not to be in Game Pass. And I hate that money hunting crap. I do. I absolutely cannot stand it, but I can understand it. It makes sense.
So
Well,
just to,
Monad.
Sure, go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, Monad brought up a point in the chat. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look it over. And I think it relates to sort of the value of Game Pass. He's wondering now, looking at the situation, just out of curiosity, because he brought it up, do people believe that digital download should be cheaper
Yeah, look,
insofar as
just
shipping?
quickly before we move on to his question, I will quickly answer the previous question from, I believe it was Doovie. Nobody Saves the World. That was the game in Game Pass that I would not have played and loved and haven't finished yet.
It was gone mad.
Yeah.
It was gone mad.
Yeah.
Go on, Matt. Sorry, go on, Matt. Yeah, I would. That's my game. I'll quickly get everyone's game, and then we'll move to Monad because this is actually something that I would like to quickly talk about. And we've got heaps of other topics we've got to get moving. So, Channy, what's a game that you've played that you've adored that you wouldn't have played without Game Pass?
So the entire Yakuza series, I would have never played that, never, ever played that. But it came to Game Pass. I'm like, fine, I'll give this a shot, and then I just played the whole bloody thing. So and then they hooked me. So I actually bought Lost Judgment and Judgment because they were, I just like the series now.
No, Xbox players do not buy games. That's a lie. Lies.
Yeah, exactly. So there's so many others, by the way. I literally, like, anything that comes into Game Pass, I'll just download it, give it a shot. If it's something I want to play, I'll play it. If not, then I'll just uninstall it.
Yeah, that's
So
the beauty
there's a
of it.
lot of games like that. A lot of games that I've ended up playing that I never would have bought.
Jedi, what's a game that you would never have played that you played and adored?
Percent of that game.
Oh
But
yeah,
it was amazing.
Yeah.
That and maybe Hades. I didn't enjoy Hades as much, but I definitely wouldn't have bought that. I might have bought the Ascent just because it was so beautiful when they first showed that game. Wow, that was absolutely magical. The world that they were able to build in that. But yeah, that and Hades definitely.
Panda, yours?
I would have to agree with the Ascent, but also Halo Infinite. I'm the type of person who hadn't finished the campaign for the other games, and I've never really been I'm not a big PvP fan, and because it was on Game Pass and I got like invited to do the community game night and all of that stuff, like I now can go and play those games, and probably something I wouldn't have. I maybe would have waited for it to go on sale, rather than buying it. But I have access to it. So even like big titles, like because everyone games individually and decides what they want to play. So I never was an Xbox gamer because of Halo. I was an Xbox gamer because of Fable. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
it just goes to show that you will be introduced to other pillars that do make up what Xbox gaming is about, like what it is.
At the moment,
very
there's-
I still haven't bought Hivebusters from Gears 5, but
I haven't.
boy,
played
have I
it.
played
either.
it 3 times.
Yeah, exactly.
Me either.
Jack, we'll move to your game that you played and adored, but wouldn't have without the power of GP.
The one that comes to mind that stands out for me would be Outriders.
Yeah.
Outriders.
Oh,
Which
well
is
said.
good.
I
Yeah.
forgot about that.
Wow,
Well
yeah.
said.
Outriders. Started off there were all kinds of problems in terms of network issues. I ended up a big sci-fi junkie. I loved it. I played through the entire campaign, start to finish, with 2 of my boys. We did a full squad. We loved it. We had a great time. So many laughs out of it. It's probably not a game I would have played without Game Pass, and I loved it. And I intend to go back to it when the DLC drops.
I played that with my son, the Devastator, and we had an absolute ball playing that game. That was a great game. Umbra, your game?
Every time I hear Devastator, I start thinking of Transformers. Devastator. But anyway, mine was Mutant Year Zero. No, it was a few. It's a lot. The Escape, Artful Escape, the Gunk. But I'll just go with Mutant Year Zero.
So many good games.
Yes, way too many that I'm even forgetting. Honestly, like seriously, I'm not even joking. I could throw Yakuza in there too, but I've always wanted to play the Yakuza series. But I was grateful that it was brought to it, even Back for Blood, like Panda pointed out. But Mutant Year Zero actually put me on the turn-based strategy type games where I was against them before. Like I didn't want anything to do with them until I played that game. It changed my whole mindset of gaming. That's how powerful that was for me, and why Game Pass is such a great deal, in my opinion. If you're willing to be open to try out stuff, and just experiment. I mean, give it a try, because it's not like you're losing out. You're not. Except for a time, I guess. But other than that, if you give it a little time, you'd be surprised. And that game changed my whole gaming outlook. I would have never touched strategy-based, turn-based games if not for that game.
Yeah, I wonder who turned you onto that. Phoenix Point. Anyway, so moving
Man,
on.
I can't wait for that ABK library to come into Game Pass, man. Oh
Oh
man,
man,
how many games are going to be coming in? PC
man,
and
it's gonna be
console. Good
crazy.
God.
I am looking forward to it. We said we'd actually release Age of Empires into Game Pass now, because you've got keyboard and mouse support. So I don't think they need to do anything. If they've got keyboard and mouse games, state that in Game Pass and let us rock and roll. I don't think that's an issue. But moving on to things that they should be doing, Monad, the question: why do we think that digital should be cheaper than physical? Yes, absolutely. Why isn't it? There's no production costs.
So
there's no.
I'll tell you why it isn't, right? Because it's how they make money. It's not about shipping. It's the 30% cut no matter what, right? So that 30% cut is what the store takes, and that's why it's that much, right? So
yeah, it's profit. Yeah,
it's just straight profit. That's literally what it. Now to be fair, there is cost to having a store. There is some truth to that, right? So, but it's not nearly as much as the physical side. That is exactly why they just make profit out of it. And it's Xbox and PlayStation and Steam. They're the ones making that money. So. That's why it's happening.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When we talk about Xbox, the Xbox store, though, that digital sure, there's cost to having a store, but there's cost to having an ecosystem. It's the cost to doing business. I don't know. Oh, look, Xbox is pretty good at folding those costs and copying those costs for their consumers. So I guess we can't really complain that much. And let's be honest.
So Epic is pushing for that, right? That's what they've been pushing for, and they've cut the cost for their side of it, right? And they're giving more to the game developer, and that could bring costs down. Likely not.
That's right, 12% or something like that. That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's also because there's no competition in that market field. Like when you sell physical games, there's so many physical stores that will compete for your dollar, and therefore they will reduce the price. But when it comes to digital games, you basically have to buy it from the Xbox store. Therefore, no competition. Therefore, there's no one to push the prices down.
Be so cool, right?
Exactly.
Because now you can subscribe to whatever you want, and now it's direct competition, right? Like they can edge each other out. No, I'm 50 cents less, right? And it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, Palpatine also mentioned Gears Tactics and Wasteland 3. Two other games that I only tried because of Game Pass. Yeah, forgot about them. Like it just goes to show how many there are. It's just amazing. The product is amazing, and in talk about that, they just dropped Shredders, they just dropped Tunic into Game Pass. It just keeps getting better. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, they absolutely did, and they did that after the Xbox ID. But there's something that a lot of podcasts aren't talking about. They wanted to cover quickly, and then my question is, why is this not being talked about by the media, by the players, by everyone in the ways that it was when it was Activision or it was Ubisoft? It was everywhere. PlayStation are actually in a class action where 9 women are taking them to court for, among many things, sexual harassment, bullying. Things are coming out saying that basically getting a promotion is almost impossible if you're a woman. They promoted 70 men, or considered 70 men for promotion, up against the 4 women within the company. Look, regardless of the accusations, and I'm a very much an innocent till proven guilty type guy. But this is not being talked about. No one's talking about this. Why is this not being brought up? It seems that PlayStation can not only do no wrong when it comes to their games and their business practices, but when it comes to decency, they can still do no wrong. And I think this is just absolutely wrong that people aren't bringing it to attention. So I wanted to cover this real quickly and get everyone's thoughts on it. I will go to Hargeet. Have you seen anything about this in the news recently?
Yeah, I mean, it is there, but it isn't really being emphasized. And this is an interesting area because it's just starting. We don't have all the facts, right? So it's, we can always jump to conclusions, and that I think is what the media is like stuck with, is like, do we like say, hey, this is horrible, but it turns out, oh, it was just wrong. Well, it may not be. It may be very accurate. This might actually end up being something, and it sounds like it actually is. And when there's more facts, I would hope that there is. But this becomes more of a question of community, right? So I think the media is covering it. That's why we're actually seeing something. They're just not emphasizing it yet until they have like actual facts from the other side to say, well, this is what their side says. This is what this side says.
Well, I think Hargeet, what's happening is you're right that the media are covering it, and they will emphasize something when there's an uptake. And we're not seeing an uptake from the PlayStation community. We're not seeing an uptake.
That's the issue. Yeah. In the case of against like Activision, first off, people hate Activision for all their policies to begin with, right? So that was just a natural, oh, screw you, freaking Activision assholes, right? So it was easy to pile on them. The community, everybody just piled on them, and that's right. That should have happened, right? But and the same with Ubisoft. Everybody's kind of getting sick of their formulaic crap, and what we've seen from their management wasn't very good, right? So we could see clear, bad behavior. So fair enough. With this, we're kind of in the beginning phase. I would hope there is, at least like we're talking about it, right? So we're bringing it up in this community. You would hope that the PlayStation community would do the same and say, hey, look, this is an area we should ask for better from Sony, right? This is, it's our fan favorite console passion. Why don't we do something better about this and actually ask for better from our favorite company here, right? So, but it is kind of disappointing that community does not seem to really hold to task the companies that they like. I don't know why that is, but that does seem to happen more so, right? We actually do criticize Microsoft. We did at the beginning of this podcast, right? Many people leaving the initiative, right? That's what you should do. Right, you should tell your the companies you like, hey, this doesn't seem right to me. Either communicate what's going on or fix it, right? Not just, oh, everything's great, everything's rosy. That's not the case. If somebody's complaining, we should look into it. And I would hope the Sony community, the PlayStation fans do that, and go through that in the community and say this is bad, fix it, right?
That is an issue. That is an issue with that community is that they don't take to task their company, their favorite company, their plastic box, my precious.
One rule for some, right?
Yeah, one rule to rule them all. What? No. Anyway, so I'll move to you, Panda. Look, have you followed this? We've talked a little bit about this in the background because I wanted to get some perspective. And it's always good to get a female perspective on what is not.
Did you just assume my gender?
Which is not.
Oh my
Live
god!
on a podcast?
Which is not a uniquely.
Did that?
I just wanted to make the point that this is not a unique issue to women, but it does happen more within the female community. They have to deal with this a lot more than men, and so getting your perspective, I found it to be an extremely important perspective.
Yeah. Well, I have talked about this on the podcast I do, but like, it's just, I mean, there was that update saying that PlayStation, SIE, is wanting the lawsuit dismissed. Because there's not enough evidence or whatever they are referring to that. And it's like they're wanting to work on this in-house and they're taking it very seriously. And I'm like, well, if you had taken it seriously in the first place, we probably wouldn't be at this point. Like when someone comes up to you with a complaint, you investigate and you sort it out. And like there's some, and it's also like coming up from the top down. Like if there's a problem at the top, then it's going to seep down into the bottom. So maybe it needs to be looked at as is there someone at the top who's kind of been enabling this, or someone in the company that's kind of been enabling, or like,
is there culture issues?
Yeah. There's sounds like there are culture issues around that. I mean, my opinion, everyone has the right to go to work and be themselves in a professional manner and have to feel safe, like psychological safety and so on and so forth, and to trust in the people that they work with, and to hope that everyone has a modicum of decency and respect. Like I work in a company where they actively hire based on talent and like who's right for the job, rather than just basing it on I like you and I don't like you, and maybe
trying to fill a quota as well.
They're not trying to fill a quota. They're just going like, who's the best for the job, and who's and that's who we're going to hire. And so I mean, coming from a country like New Zealand, where obviously it happens everywhere, right? This stuff happens everywhere, but like in New Zealand, you don't hear about it that often because a lot of companies take it very seriously and they put policies in place. Like I am part of a diversity and inclusion forum team, and we work on policies that don't just impact gender or orientation or it's all about accessibility, and like it looks after everyone regardless of age, regardless of people's ability to move around the office and so on and so forth. But like it's just sad that this is consistently happening and companies are not paying enough attention to what everyone else is doing and freaking changing what's happening, because eventually people are changing and they're not going to allow this to keep on happening. So then you're going to start running into more of this, and these companies getting pulled out and called on their bullshit as a result of it. And I think it's needed because there's obviously an issue, whether it's just aimed at gender. No, that's not the thing. It's aimed at any reason. And it's just like a lot of the things with gender, though, is women won't necessarily speak up about it unless they're absolutely at their wits' end. They'll put up with it and they'll put up with it and they'll put up with it. And eventually they won't. And that's what we're seeing is they've probably been putting up with it, probably been putting up with worse. And they're just now sick of it. We're in a society where it's now okay to bring this up and to get taken seriously, regardless of where you work and your gender and so on and so forth. I'm like to think people are decent, and that's not always the case. I'm a decent person, so my assumption is other people will be decent as well, but it's not the case. It's
do the right thing. And I think that like in some of these cases it can also be very difficult to do the right thing, and then it falls on SIE and these other companies to have policies and procedures in place that are very, very clear about what's acceptable, what's not acceptable.
Yeah.
And that's really all that needs to happen with all these companies. So if there's any developers or anyone out there that happens to catch this show, just look at your policies and your procedures. It's very, very clear. In Australia, when you work for a company, they make it very, very clear what's acceptable, what is not acceptable. So if you've done something wrong, that's it. You've done something wrong. Goodbye. See you later. That is how it works, and that is how it should work.
Yeah,
so we know
just
where
an
we
additional
stand.
point there is, we're judging this in terms of sort of the Western society. You understand this is a Japanese company, and
Yes.
Japan is very different, and it just is. So you have to keep that in mind, that some of this is because of their upper leadership. This is the way they are, right? And they're not ashamed of it. This is just the way they are. And that is something that they need to be pulled from as well. And that's going to be an interesting thing to do.
Absolutely. It's a very, I did bring this up a few weeks ago. We talked about this. And I did ask the question, hey, do you think it's got anything to do with it culturally? But Haggeek, this is in it. They've moved their offices to America. And then you have to.
Doesn't mean that like upper management.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I still, a lot of the things that even Jim Ryan does are being directed by upper management. Like, this is the way you're going to do it. Too bad. And he may not like it, but it is what it is, right? They own the company. They tell him what to do. And some of these decisions end up being stupid and like that, right? They really are like, nope, we're going to only accept this person, right? They could have hired somebody other than Jim, right? But they went with another guy. It's just the way it is. This is how they are. Right, and I'm not excusing it. I'm just telling you, like, these cultural things matter, and it's unfortunately it's something you also have to add on top of it, right? If it was just, hey, this is an American company, like Microsoft is fully American, right? So they will have full American standards, right? That's just the way they're going to be. Versus a Japanese company dictating, these are our ethics, this is what we do, and you will follow these dictates, right? And that becomes a headache. The company culture is defined by Sony, right? So you have to kind of keep that in mind, unfortunately. Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, look, absolutely, but again, doesn't excuse it. You move your company to a country that has a specific culture, a specific set of beliefs. You kind of have to.
I agree.
You have to like fold into those beliefs, and and just
'cause
move
it's
with the
okay
times.
in one place doesn't mean it's okay in another place.
Yeah, exactly. You got to when in Rome. Bit of a when in Rome thing. But look, does anyone else have anything else they want to add on this topic before we move on to another PlayStation topic? I'm very excited.
Just a small thing. Just a small thing to add to it. I think, and Bubba actually commented on it in the chat. He's like, I think, how did he word it? Let me see exactly. He called it console. How did he say it?
Passion.
That's it. And that's what it comes down to. And that's the reason why we don't hear anybody really speaking about it like that.
Yes, that's
a lot of. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
So a lot of the loyalties for these people, will keep them from saying anything is because they don't want, for one, not only are they like they have this fealty to Sony, so they can't really criticize them too much, but then they have to worry about their fellow ponies now. Because now when they say something negative about them, their pony's going to turn on them. I've seen it happen.
Yep.
So that's the reason why you don't really hear anything about that. And I mean, we don't know all the details, so I won't try to sit here and judge anything. I'm like you, Risk. I don't want to rush to judgment because that happens all the time for us as men in general. Oh, sexual assault. Oh, supposed harassment. Yeah, he did it. He's guilty. No, we can't do that. So I don't want to rush to that either. But I mean, you have 9 different women coming out saying this. I'm not going to deny them their truth either. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to sit back and wait to see if we get more information before saying anything.
Look, I think with 9 people, there's always going to be something behind it, man. It's with
Absolutely.
9. With 9, there's something there. Whether all of the complaints are valid, who knows? It's not for us to judge. But it's definitely for people to listen. And those people that you're talking about, these people with console passion, it is those people that need to stand up because those people will get listened to. If there's more than one of you, don't attack each other. Stand up and say, yeah, look, if this is going on, we don't like it. We don't accept it. We don't want it. And we don't want it in our console, in our video gaming. Like, I don't want any, if I ever see any bullshit with Xbox or Xbox guys, like, behaving inappropriately on Twitter or in an Xbox part or whatever, man, I will always call that out. I don't want it. I don't want it in Xbox. Right. I do not want it.
Yeah.
That you guys have been talking about around Activision previously. I mean, people, when this happened with Activision, obviously around the sexual harassment stuff, they were outright calling to cancel Activision and be like, I can't support this game, boycott this game. Why are we not seeing that on their side? Do you know why? Because they won't do that to PlayStation because for some reason, in their minds, PlayStation can do no wrong. And I don't.
Well, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
If something like this got announced on Xbox's side, I would have been like, oh, I feel really uncomfortable that I support.
And it happened, right? This happened
it did
several years back, and they immediately said, "We're sorry,
with
we're fixing it." Right?
Yeah,
That's what you should get.
No.
It's interesting that you have, when it comes to Xbox, you have Activision Blizzard, you have Phil Spencer openly talking about reevaluating. Well, we ultimately know what reevaluate relationships meant with that. But it seemed like there was, at the very least, there was a concrete, addressing of the issue. Obviously you can't provide a transparent remedy for it instantly. That can't be done. But it was addressed. I think it's interesting. We look at sort of PlayStation, and I'm not trying to play, fanboy here and hate on PlayStation, but I think it's very interesting that PlayStation not only has these 9 women, which is currently evading the media limelight, right, in ways that if you had anything to do with Activision Blizzard or Xbox or anything, you weren't afforded that luxury. It's interesting because it was only a month and a half, 2 months ago, where a Sony senior vice president was caught on camera being a pedophile. It does seem, and it does seem there's been a very different corporate approach to these issues. Kudos, to Microsoft for, or to perhaps even more kudos to Sony's PR department, however you want to look at it. But I think it's definitely palpable. It's noticeable. I don't want to comment. Obviously, like we've all said, innocent or guilty. This could run the train from everything between Cosby and Jussie Smollett. We don't know if it's bunk. We don't know if it's true. We're not going to comment on that. But there does seem to be a very different approach. And I wonder, and as a primary Xbox gamer, I hope it reflects on a different set of morals that sort of permeate through Microsoft and perhaps SIE. because it does appear that Microsoft, at least tangentially from what we understand so far, will come out, they will address the issue, and they'll make some sort of statement about how they're going to remedy it. I think with Sony, when you have a senior vice president, this is by no means a low-level functionary, right? This is an individual that's sat in on boardrooms, being caught on camera, actively attempting to have sexual relations with a child, knowingly, and then this it's coming from the 9 women. I think it's disconcerting. I think if exactly what Riskett said, if you're very much on the blue team in the Sony camp, there's a little bit of soul searching that I think should be done, and I would really encourage you to speak up about that, because I agree with what Panda said as well. Everybody should come to work safe, healthy, and secure. And I think anything that detracts from that is egregious, no matter what box you play on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very well said. And we're going to move on from this topic. If you guys are still in the chat there, just hit that like button. Feel free to send us any questions through. Mr. Joanna Dark, I absolutely agree with your comment. He said you need to look beyond self-interest, and in an issue like this, it needs to be called out. Many people who cover PlayStation want jobs, and they would rather turn an eye than call these things out, and that is ridiculous. And what we need is braver journalists, braver ponies with sharper hooves.
They need to be stallions, not ponies.
That's right. That's right.
Get an upgrade.
They can be beige stallions. Now, moving on. We're going to go to the more PlayStation news. 2 things we'll cover it at the once, which is absolutely unbelievable. And I haven't said much about this, and I just rolled my eyes. Like, literally, I did not look into this topic too much because my brain said typical. And I'm talking about the Gran Turismo 7 microtransaction debacle. And again, we're talking about double standards, and we're back to double standards again. And we'll include in this, Naughty Dog has actually reneged on their factions promise, but they did promise to include that in The Last of Us 2. They have now taken that promise back, and what they're saying they're going to do is include it as a separate piece of I don't know if you call it DLC now, but I mean, they released Miles Morales, so I mean, yeah, we can call it a separate piece of DLC. So this is just complete double standards. Say this, if this had happened for Forza with Gran Turismo 7, and let me outline what has happened. They have lowered the amount of reward you can earn within the game, almost forcing you to have to pay for microtransactions to acquire some of the vehicles. If this had happened in Forza, the community would be all over them. The Naughty Dog thing where they promised to release a multiplayer, and I'm not going to equate it to Halo. It is not the same thing in my opinion, but it still is not good. If you promise to bring something out with a game and you don't do it, and then you bring it out as a separate thing that must be paid for, again, the media would be all over it. What's going on over there? Like, why is it that these ponies, and look, I don't like to be too console warish here, but I'm probably going to get a little bit console war. Why is it these ponies are able to do the mental gymnastics? They must have like the most massive stretch session before every little piece of news comes out, because the way that their mind bends when Sony does something that if anyone else had done would be egregious, and they can just gloss over it, and it's a fine thing. And I've seen so many different takes. I'm going to go to Umbra on this because I saw you have a passionate discussion on Twitter with someone, and you were 110% right in all of your views, and I want to get them here on the show.
Yeah, no, you're right, and it's just the thing, like, when I think, like, again, it's the console passion, like Bubba pointed out, when they have such a loyalty to the brand. If you're a known Xbox guy, or you prefer Xbox in any kind of way, even if you like it, they don't want to hear from you. They don't want to hear what you have to say. What you're saying is based in console warring to them. It's not based in reality or fairness or anything like that. They have deluded themselves to the point where they cannot hear anything but their echo chamber. So, yeah, it's problematic for that reason alone. But you're right, and I've said it before many times. Had this been Xbox, the press would have murdered them. In fact, as I pointed out in the green room before we started, the press tried to murder Forza Horizon 5 when they thought that they TX. They took down some points, I believe, from the score just because they thought it was going to happen. Yet, this game got an 8.8, or excuse me, an 88, or now 87. Nah. Nah. And then the deceptive practice of Sony to even hide the fact that they had MTX like that, and the
To
fact now
upgrade
also
you.
that it's and all now that it's always online. Of course, now that they added the offline patch, that whole debacle right there that was offline 30 hours, 30 plus hours. Had Microsoft done that, had it happened to Microsoft, a Microsoft game, we'd be hearing about it day and night for a good week.
Be all
Yeah.
that Twitter
Double standards.
freaking spaces going on about it for 10 hours.
Oh, no question. No question. It's a blatant double standard.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, I want to ask, because I know Umbra and I talked about it very briefly. We touched on it in terms of, and I'll pose this to all of you, and I don't mean to cut you off. In terms of this double standard, right? Obviously, Microsoft is a much bigger company, right? With like a $2.28 trillion market cap. You know, it's a GDP of a first world industrialized country. Do you? Because I was thinking about this, and I know Umbra and I talked about it. Do any of you believe personally that because Microsoft is a much bigger target, you know, obviously as a journalist you're going to go for the biggest fish. Do you think maybe it's sort of almost incidental that, you know, as a journalist, obviously, you know, you're not going to, whatever would happen with SIE or Nintendo, you know, or what have you. Do you think that perhaps it's just almost incidental because of the Microsoft is the largest company in the world? It's the largest corporate private entity ever created in human history. Do you think that is sort of a magnetic attraction for this sort of negative press in ways that perhaps Nintendo or SIE do not experience? I'd be curious to hear your opinions.
Yeah,
I don't
in my
know.
opinion, I think you have something there. Go ahead, Jedi.
I was going to say that Microsoft have had bad press ever since they got taken to court, I think in the late 90s, and the press has been on their back ever since. But in saying that, Xbox has always tried to keep itself separate to Microsoft, and I don't know, it feels a little bit personal at times, some of these attacks, and I think that a lot of them are unwarranted. And going back to what's going on in Gran Turismo 7 and The Last of Us with the multiplayer, it's just another case of Sony going back on, you know, their word. They released Gran Turismo 7 and they got all the reviews done, and then they added microtransactions in later. I mean, imagine Forza did that.
Well, that's just
You'd never hear
disingenuous.
that. Yeah, it really is. And then
I think we all agree with that.
And then they said that the multiplayer was going to be part of The Last of Us 2. And
They
yes,
did.
I know nobody bought that game for the multiplayer, but they also said that it was going to be there, and now they've reneged on that as well. Now, I think they might have done that so they have something to launch into Spartacus Arts. We don't know that. No, we don't know that. And yeah, it's just another case of Sony going back on what they said, and it's just a bad look. It's happened numerous times this generation now, and they need to be called out on it. What do you think about that, Hagi?
Yeah, so what can I say about Sony and their gaming practices? They're just great. Look, the next part of this that's interesting to me is, does anybody now believe the 87? They definitely pulled a, hey, we're only going to give the codes to people we like. And that definitely drives like the people who bought it.
Yeah, it
themselves
incentivizes.
It is not
positive reviews.
It is not a 9. The game question is a 7 at best, right? Because if you compare it to its competition, it just does not add up. It's just not at the same level. And if that's the case, why is it at 87? So this is now like, it just basically takes any Sony game for me for meta, it's inflated, and I don't buy any of it, right? And that they've done this to themselves. That's where they put themselves. So now I just don't buy any of their meta scores. The part where Microsoft comes in, like you were asking, is does Microsoft get a different level because they're larger? To a point, that is it. They play more fair because they're required to, right? The EU would come after them, the US would come after them.
Right. Yeah.
So they're gonna play fair and let the media do what they do, right? Whereas Sony plays these games, and they just do. They play
because
these
they
games.
can.
Because they can, exactly.
Yeah, they're legally,
and
they're not bound by the same.
They're legally bound by it. It's just nobody's going to go after them.
So you do think it is a conscious, and I don't want to be hyperbolic.
Oh, it totally is.
But you do think it is a concentrated assault. You think it's more deliberate? Because I know Umbra believes it is, and when he explained it to me, it made sense. I dissented a little bit, or I gave it a little, but ultimately, what he was telling me earlier added up with me. But are you also concretely of the opinion that this is more concentrated as opposed to incidental?
I think that Sony have had a symbiotic relationship with the media just because they've released movies, and for so long that they've had this symbiotic relationship where they, they each make money off each other. Where Microsoft basically, every computer comes with Windows, so they don't really need to market as much. They don't have that relationship with the media, and therefore they don't make money off each other, and therefore they're a much easier target. Because they don't have that kind of relationship, and I think that might have more to do with it than the fact that Microsoft are as big as they are. But that's something else to bear in mind.
That's an interesting take, an angle I hadn't considered.
I think it's a mixture of both, and I think you brought up a good point in question, Jack. I think absolutely, Microsoft being as big as they are, people like to hate on the big company. It's just the truth, or they like to root for the underdog in a sense. And in this case, if we're going to compare big bank to little bank, Microsoft is the big fish compared to Sony. So I can see that. Also, too, we have to keep in mind, Microsoft was hated years ago. A lot of that stench, that hate, hasn't really gone away for some people, even though they have turned everything around and have been certified as one of the best places to work on earth. People still have this unfair hate for them. So I think all that plays into it as well.
What my understanding is, and I think this is, and I don't mean to drone on, so cut me off at any point, but I think that there is, and it started sort of in the late 90s, and I would have been a child, but I know, obviously, Umbra, you would probably remember this much better than I would.
Some things never change, though.
Yeah, I know, right? No, but this is great for you too, Rich, as well as you, Pete. And I'm not busting your balls for being, old, crotchety individuals that you are. But yeah. So no, right? No, I'm sure. Yeah, you all share Viagra prescriptions, and I'm sure it's a great time. But what I want to know is.
But you're just a little bit older than a fetus, mate. Really?
No, I don't know. It's almost 30 years. Anyhow, point being is this: I wanted to know because I get this a lot, right? And particularly I get it more with the Europeans that I talk to. That Microsoft is sort of seen as sort of this big bad avatar of corporate America, right? Whether you're in Europe, whether you're in Oceania, whether New Zealand or Australia in your respective cases, that there were a lot of domestic Australian or Kiwi businesses, what have you, and then all of a sudden, there's Netflix or a Walmart on every corner, and the place you went to as a kid is now a Burger King or a McDonald's. Do you think a lot of this hostility, especially with Xbox or sort of the sort of journalistic slant that we're witnessing, do you think any of that is a byproduct of sort of that social attitude? I'd be curious because it does seem, or maybe perhaps that Microsoft gets away with a lot more in the U.S. because it's domestic. I mean, it's a two-way street, Do you guys see that at all? Did you experience that?
I don't see Microsoft getting away with like anything ever. Yeah. I mean, look at when they tried to, and not just from the media, but from its gamers. Like, we expect a certain standard from Microsoft, and we hold them to it. Like, we held them to, like you said earlier in the show. The initiative's not doing great. We're holding them up to standard. When the gold debacle, when they tried to boot the price up to $120 a year,
we revolted.
We revolted. Like, immediately, it took them 2 days to realize it wasn't even 2 days.
It didn't take 2 days.
Yeah.
It was 8 hours.
24 hours.
8 hours.
And they took it straight back. This is something that PlayStation doesn't do. They and maybe Hargate might be onto something with it. It's a culture thing. Yeah. But they dig their heels into the sand. But I also think that it is a lack of discourse from their player base and their fan base calling them out. I think if they get called out more and more often, but hang on a minute. Let's also look. There is one single, you can point to many things from Microsoft where they have alleviated the issue by listening to their player base. There's one single time that PlayStation did this, and that was with Horizon Forbidden West.
Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah, $10.
The $10 upgrade, and which people forgot about, and they got very, very cagey about letting people know when it got to launch that you could buy the PlayStation 4 version for $60 and then upgrade it for free.
I wish I'd have known that.
They're happy to pay for $70 games,
Yeah.
but
You got to support those
I mean,
devs.
they're happy to pay though, right? I mean, we're seeing
Yeah.
we've all been on social media, right? We all play Game Pass. Therefore, there is a certain segment of the gaming community. We are paupers. We are welfare gamers. We are pirate. But that's what we.
But there's a point.
That's
There's a
according
point.
to them, right?
It is
There's a-
insanity to me.
There's a
They
point
want
at
they-
which it becomes
they
ridiculous, and we have hit
They
this
want
ridiculous
to pay.
point, like where they've done exactly what Pete was saying before. After the reviews are out, they've released that they'll be having microtransactions, and the microtransactions are not small for a full price game. They're not even small for a free game. It is absolute ridiculous, diabolic
It's
bullshit.
insanity
But
to
the
me
player
that
base
they're
loves
willing
it.
to say that they're willing to pay $70 for a game
I know.
and not
It's
push back.
ridiculous,
It
right?
is insanity to me that
Yeah.
any consumer would say that, because it basically opens them up to more price rises later, not just the ones now, but later.
I mean, it's
And
not even that,
I
right? They
don't
keep coming
understand
up with excuses for them, and like
the
you just
developers,
look at
you got
their
to support them.
But their developers are all Sony employees, and like they're making record profits, increases every year. Where do they think they come to? Anyway, so as far as your like the big companies in other countries thing, I'd say there's another piece of that, right? The biggest company actually is Apple, and that one had a charismatic leader, and somehow everybody seems to love them, even though they are the uber assholes of corporations, right? They have done unspeakably evil things, but it is what it is. People
I would
seem to
also
love them.
just before you go on, I'd just also like to thank Apple for providing the hardware for this show. You guys
Yeah.
are fantastic,
Well,
and
it
if
is
you
what
can
it is,
contact
right?
me, it's my email, and just let me know if there's anything that you would like to send me to test out on the show. Go ahead, Huggy. Go ahead. Sorry, mate.
but they have a charismatic leader. That was what it was, right? They had Steve Jobs, and he was able to convince people that this is all good. You need to have this. You need to do whatever I tell you, right? Whereas Bill Gates was not charismatic. Great for the industry, but not
Right.
charismatic, and that set a tone.
He's a
that
good-looking
Microsoft is the
guy.
nerdy-
You take that back.
He's the nerdy, annoying piece of trash.
looks
That's
like a
literally what
bike.
it was. Right, and that's the difference, right? So equivalently, if you say it was ubiquity of our corporations,
Right,
I'd
right.
say
How
Japan
is
does
it
the
abroad?
same thing, right? Don't tell me that Japanese companies aren't everywhere. Sony
No,
being one of
I
them,
absolutely agree.
right?
I'm just saying
So-
the optics for us.
So that same
is
problem
so much
exists,
worse.
right?
But
So,
but
but-
our
but yeah.
optics are worse.
Yeah, certainly our wealth level is much higher. Fair enough,
Right.
but that's because we generate things people want all
Right, no,
worldwide. They
I
want them,
100% agree.
right?
No, I 100% agree.
I think
I'm just
that's
saying
the
there's a
distinction,
mentality.
right? People are still enthusiastic to, like you just had Risket say, "Oh, please send me your laptop. Send me the next Apple." Like that doesn't happen for Microsoft, okay? Because they have that image. Now it's getting better, but it doesn't have that same level. Oh, send me your
Oh, no,
next
hang
Surface.
on. I want to be
that
fair.
doesn't happen.
Microsoft, if you've
Apple-
got
had
anything you want me to test
their
out, like you can send it. You can send it to me as well. Like,
But it's not
emails
just
and-
gaming. Do you know what I mean, Risket? So this is
Apple
this
had
is
their
the
Bill Gates,
distinction.
they had that Steve Wozniak guy, but they
Yeah.
also, like you have said, they had
They
that
still
Patch
had
guy,
Steve
that
Jobs.
salesman, Steve Jobs. Yeah, and that's
Exactly.
what
The guy that
Microsoft
can
lacked.
market
You're
to
right.
you. You know what I mean?
What? They don't
That's
lack
the
it. They don't lack it. That's untrue. Why
And
do
I
you think we
think-
call him Phyllis Spencer as Maximus?
No, I was just about to say
Only
that.
is
I think
that's
the thing
immodest.
that's changing for Xbox is Phil, right? He is that guy, right? And the industry, you start seeing the media is now shifting to saying Xbox is cool. Let's cover that, right? So you're starting to see a trend to say Xbox has, the games we want.
love you,
the
Phil.
ecosystem. It's starting to happen, right? Where it used to be trash Xbox, right? No matter, like everything you saw was trash Xbox. They don't have this. They don't have that. They don't have. Okay, even though they would give you those things, it's like no, you don't have anything. Like I need to go to Sony. Like but that is changing now.
Are
And you
you-
start seeing some
you
anti-Sony
saying-
stuff build up.
Are you saying Xbox has games?
No,
I've
that's a lie.
always
That's a lie.
said Xbox has games, but Sony fans don't want to believe it.
I do,
Um,
and this is my hot take. I do see anti-Americanism in a lot of the. I do see a lot of the hostility that Microsoft gets vis-a-vis Sony,
Yep.
and I'll be honest, from what I've seen, I think there is some flagrant anti-American sentiment in that, and as an American, it perturbs me.
100%.
it is-
But
I
I
definitely
don't
see
understand why Microsoft gets hate from the
Understand
American
either.
marketplace,
Yes.
especially
Yeah.
when Sony people are so patriotic when it comes to their PlayStation and Nintendo
Yeah,
brand.
that
It's
is
just,
disappointing
It's
too.
polar opposites. It's just I don't understand it. I never will.
Well, I mean, on the flip side, we're fair about our purchases. We get what we want, right? We like what we like, right? So we're not going to be playing country things, right? But on the flip side, it would be nice to have a little bit of patriotism. But yeah, whatever.
Yeah, look, I completely agree. It just spins me out. You're like bagging out your own countryman's attempt and successful attempt at providing gaming to the world.
Exactly.
You know, like it's absolutely crazy. But there is a lot of, we're not going to get into this political stuff, but there is a lot of anti-Americanism sentiment within America itself at the moment. So, I mean, again, shouldn't really be surprising. And if from a political standpoint, I suppose that's an understandable thing.
If anything, it just shows the hill that Phil Spencer has had to climb, the mountain that he's had to overcome, and it shows how, not only did he just change what was going on internally, he's also changed the whole dynamics of how people see Xbox, and I mean, all hail Phil, the man's genius.
Yeah, and Big Mad Mo, I know that no one ever heard me. Big Mad Mo in the chat said you got to say it right. It's Maximus Aurelius. Phil Dominus Maximus Aurelius Spencer. I know that no one heard me coin this phrase, but I was saying this stuff before it ended up on Twitter. Like it's Philus Maximus Aurelius Spencerus. That is the way I've always said it. And that's not changing.
No, his name is Filius Sonius Decimatus.
Decimatus, yeah, everyone's got their version of love.
Sonius
but
Decimatus.
This man is loved.
He's going to be synonymous with Xbox.
Oh, when he leaves, I reckon there'll be like if he ever leaves Xbox, there will be a funeral, tears, there'll be processions in the street. Like the man is an absolute superstar. He is an example for how you should run a business.
PlayStation gamers have played with him, right?
Agreed.
Like I've played with Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer was on the other night playing Destiny again. Like new Destiny content comes out, you can guarantee he's going to be there on the first day, running through those raids with you.
Yeah.
Todd Howard talked about it. Even when Todd Howard was presenting his Lifetime Achievement Award, Todd Howard was very transparent. He was like, Phil Spencer just plays video games. Like, well, Phil, people play video games with Phil Spencer. I think it's great that someone of his caliber will so actively and openly interact with his community and the people that support what he's doing. And I think that's an admirable trait.
Can you imagine?
When he has the meeting with the Bethesda people, he actually does it in Elder Scrolls Online. They do it while playing Elder Scrolls Online. I think that is just incredibly cool.
Yeah, man.
I wish I had a workplace where that could be meetings.
I'm actively applying for jobs at Microsoft, like as a developer, as whatever. I can't develop anything. I've got no idea about code, but if I just get in there, I'm sure that Phil will love me. Anyway, so moving on, you're talking about Todd Howard, and that
He'll probably ask you as part of your resume your gamer score, and then that won't get you on the job.
It's always gamer score there, isn't it? So 1v1 me in Battlefield, I will crush you.
I would win that one.
1v1 me in Halo, we'll go.
Smithers, crush this paper cup for me. We'll move on to Starfield, the Dev Diary, which was absolutely amazing, and there is a lot to unpack. We are already tipping 2.5 hours, and so we will try to move through these topics because there's two other massive topics that I really wanted to go through, and then we obviously have our put this on your radar, and you really need to hear about this. Plus, we've got the State of Play, which was, again, amazing. It's the best exclusive that PlayStation has had for quite some time. So the Starfield Dev Diary, if you guys are just joining us, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Fantastic. We've got 14 people in the chat still hanging around, still powering the show. You guys make this show what it is. Big Mad Mo, Bob Fett Gaming, Miss Joanna Dark, Doovie, Palpatine, all you guys, absolutely fantastic. Thank you very, very much for sticking around and listen to us ramble about the gaming week. This Dev Diary was amazing. Look, a lot of people have been talking about gameplay. I got attacked on Twitter today, or yesterday, about them not showing gameplay. Let me just say this one last time unequivocally and take it in. Stop asking for gameplay. Bethesda don't give you gameplay unless you're at least maximum 3 months out. So 3 months out, you'll get gameplay, and sometimes not a month before the game releases, you will get gameplay. When they are ready, I want to see it, but not until they're ready. When they're ready, they'll show it. Stop asking for it. Everyone wants it. You ain't getting it. Right, so moving on. So the stuff they talked about in the Dev Diary, though, gave an absolutely amazing feeling of what this game is going to be. Like, it just felt great. And before I move on to the panel, I just wanted to say this. Be careful, because we have also heard this before. I remember when Fable, the original Fable came out. I'm a massive fan, as well as Red Dead is. The original, we heard all these amazing, like, it's so immersive, but they didn't have the tech back then. But they do have the tech now, so it's quite exciting to see what they can do with this. Now, some of the things that they mentioned was the dialogue and the persuasion and the discussions that you'll have with NPCs in the game are going to be a lot more natural. They're not going to be choose this one, with obvious choices leading to obvious conclusions. They're going to be very, very natural dialogue, which is quite exciting because you feel like you're in the game. You don't know what's going to happen. Whereas a lot of these dialogue choices, say in Elden Ring, you kind of have a good gauge on what's going to happen if you choose a particular one. And they're very arbitrary in their positioning and where they're going to take you. Now, the other thing that's very, very interesting, and they talked about, was just to give you a quick brief, was the multiple factions that you can join. But not only can you join multiple factions, you can join multiple of the multiple factions. So you could be join a corporate section. Oh, excuse me. I've had the flu for the last week, and that's the first cough, so I reckon I'm doing all right. You could join multiple factions. They talked about you could be in corporate, or you could be working for corporate and then join the Space Pirates. And then you could choose to defect to the Space Pirates, or you could choose to continue with your corporate, with your Space Pirates, report back to their corporate, and then play like kind of a cop role. That could be, and when you think about that as an option, there could be so many other things that you could do within this game in that kind of a scope. It really kind of gets a little bit mind-boggling and like really, really exciting. As you can tell, I was pretty excited by this dev diary. And they also showed a companion, which was another great thing to see, that you would have not only human companions, which I'm sure you will have, or alien companions, but robot companions. And they also talked about, this is the last thing I'm going to say, to move to the panel, because obviously my excitement is palpable. As they talked about photogrammetry for the characters themselves, which is absolutely amazing, which says to me that that non or in-engine, not gameplay that we saw, but trailer that we saw, with just even some of the imperfections in the skin of the guy taking off in his spaceship, are going to be in that game. And like I said, they've got the tech to do all these things that they're saying that they can do. And this is Bethesda we're talking about, and they really haven't made a bad game. So this to me is just really exciting, and to know we're going to get this in November, like I'm going to have to get a divorce and like disown my children so I can like just spend hours and hours in this world, because it looks like it's going to be fire. And I'm going to tell you the one last thing, I wasn't excited about this game until this last dev diary. This last dev diary just got me fired up for it. So Hargeet, yeah, look, it wasn't my thing. I don't know if I've been quiet about it. I did mention it on one of my videos. I don't know if it was going to be up my alley, but this is sounding like it's going to be something very, very special. And I think it'll be talked about and used as a benchmark for many years to come. Hargeet, are you excited for the game after seeing this dev diary? Were you excited before?
I'm always excited for their games. I've liked their games, right? So especially something like this where it's a brand new thing, it looks really cool. Elder Scrolls are fantastic. So I'm definitely I'm down already. I was already interested in playing it. For me, and say like you have the headache of trying to find time. I usually take mid-November all the way through January off for vacation, and so this comes out day one of my vacation. This is going to come out, right? So I'll be ready to play it. And man, are we getting great games? We just got a 97 Elden Ring. We're going to talk about it later. That Hogwarts, like that looks fantastic, right? We're going to get this. There's others coming. Like this is going to be a nice fall. But it looks great. Some of the things they're explaining just go back to what made Skyrim and Oblivion so cool. Like, yeah, this is going to be good. So I'm definitely excited to play it.
Yeah, and the excitement coming from Todd Howard and his team. I mean, that's obviously partly scripted, I would think, but then recorded. Just the excitement, the things that they talk about, and the way that they talk about it, has really got me really, really fired up. Panda, are you? I know you're into your RPGs. Is this something that is going to be up your alley?
Yes, 100%. Yes, I'm dying to play it. Like, I love space.
Well, you can't play it. It's only for real gamers. No, I'm only kidding. You're right. Sorry.
Oh, so that means you can't pick up a copy then. Oh, what a shame. I'll just share my gameplay with you. You can just watch. It's fine. I'm super excited. I love Mass Effect, and I love I loved the Outer Worlds and anything really space adventure-y, like Star Wars, Star Trek. Like, I'm huge, massive fans of that type of like space sci-fi type genre. That it is. So I can't wait to give this a go and just to listen to them talk about the scope and the intention behind the game. And this game is going to be amazing. I mean, Todd Howard's behind it. It's first new IP in forever. So I think people who are complaining about not seeing gameplay, who really cares? Like, I know you said, like, you've made it very clear that they typically don't put it out anytime like well in advance prior to a game releasing, but I also think they're being very purposeful about the information that they put out about the game, because they really, you can tell, are trying to build as much hype so when we see it for the first time, it should hopefully blow our minds and go, this is a must play day one. And hopefully nothing really overly leaks out prior to its official reveal. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Doovie in the chats there said he's the same. He's never played TES or Fallout games for more than 5 minutes. And look, I'm the same, Doovie. That's because I'm not a real gamer, apparently. But this recent showing, mainly what they talked about with the decisions, yeah, look, it just looks like an absolute fire game. Immersing yourself. This is a step towards what video games I think are going to be in the future. That kind of Ready Player One feeling where you really immerse yourself in these worlds. And I think this is a step towards that. That's what I want to see before I kick the bucket. I want to see games get to the point where, you know, look, we're running around in them and you really can live a life inside of a computer game if that's what you so choose. Call me a nerd. I don't care. Jack, you excited about this, man?
Yeah, it's no surprise. I have not been this excited for any game since Skyrim. This is the game I've been waiting to play. Probably since I picked up a Game Boy Color, you know, which was my first generation. You're like ninth, but so I've been waiting for if I were to talk about Starfield, I could have taken up the entirety of this podcast. So I will just say, and I'll say it right now, I think Starfield will be Game of the Year. I think Starfield, like Skyrim and even Oblivion before it, it is arguably a candidate for Game of the Generation. I think the scope
of Elden Ring, even though I know how much you love Elden Ring.
I think it will. Not only do I think
that's going to be tough.
I do. I think it will beat Elden Ring. And not only do I think it will beat Elden Ring, I think, granted, you know, there's only 3 points to really maneuver on beating it if that's the metric. But I think overall, in terms of what the player base, at least, because that's the glory of Game Pass. Like, I don't want to say sold. We don't have to pay for games, you know. They're just given to us, which is, you know, nice. You know, they're sort of a granted commodity. I think, I think it's going to be the single greatest RPG experience that we've ever seen. I think the scope of it, even now, it's difficult to sort of conceptualize when they're talking. I mean, they've confirmed there will be an entire planet that is one city, completely urban, and it will be a hub, a planetary hub. So I'm very excited for this. I will play this game till I lose my job or fail a mortgage payment. Probably that's probably when I'll stop. But yeah, no, I could talk about this for hours, so I'll pass it on. But
yeah, look, I'm getting my
200-hour game on Game Pass. I mean,
it's a 1,000-hour game for me. You'll replay it, all the decisions, the possibilities. Oh god, they're endless.
Amazing.
Yeah, look, I'm getting my financial situation in order so I can prepare for the divorce that will inevitably come.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Yeah,
in November.
You just need an Xbox and she can play it with you, and then you'll be sus.
Right.
I've got 3. I got my S, I got my Series X, and I got my One X, and I got rid of my VCR. I gave it to a kid whose parents aren't in a situation to be able to afford a console, and I saw an opportunity there to bring another one into the fold. Look, I'm going to go to Jedi here, but like a point that Jedi made before I do go to you, I think that where Elden Ring will not be able to compete with Starfield is its lack of story, or its convoluted story, or its difficult story to follow. Whereas I don't think Starfield will have that issue. I think they will tell a story for the ages. Pete.
Yes, it'll be an odyssey.
That's true, but I think it was Doovie in the chat that was saying that he didn't really get into the Elder Scrolls and Fallout, or he played them for 5 minutes, and they can be hard games to get into, because you're not really given much direction. And I think Starfield's going to be similar. So basically, whatever planet you're on, you're going to be able to, do your missions within that planet, and you can basically do what you want. They're not going to point you to point A. They're not going to point you to point B, which I love. You can really immerse yourself in that world. Everything I've seen of this game and the dev dive just excited me even more. I cannot wait for this game. I cannot wait to get into this world. I think your companions are going to be awesome. That robot they showed seems incredibly cool already. The art that they dropped.
That's cool.
Wow, that art looks so good.
Oh, it's amazing.
Next gen only. Yeah, this is gonna show us what this next generation is capable of. Yep. I think that they have been, exactly what Panda said, incredibly purposeful in what they have showed. I think they are building up hype for when E3 comes, and I think when E3 comes, they are just going to drop the hammer down. Bear in mind, we're talking about Game of the Year over Elden Ring, which has scored incredibly high. But not only that, we're talking Game of the Year over God of War 2, over, possibly Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. These are big games to be coming up against. And I think that they've got something incredibly special here. I think they know they've got something incredibly special here. And yeah, Jack's right. 1,000 hours, and people are still playing Skyrim to this day. I know that's a bit of a meme. Skyrim released on everything. The reason why it released on everything is because people are playing it 10 years later. There are very few games that can do that. I hope this is everything that we're promised. Bethesda, they know what they're doing. First game, first new IP in 25 years. Todd Howard's baby, the game that he's always wanted to make. And, in the space genre, I mean, you guys know how much I love Mass Effect. So, the space genre is my genre. It's my baby. So, cannot wait. Absolutely cannot wait. It can't come soon enough.
Look, I don't want to cut in there, but I will definitely cut in. Look, Panda, you have to hit the road. So before you do go, we just want to thank you very much for coming on the show and giving us your takes across all the topics. And look, just tell us where you're at, where we can find you, and what you'll be up to in the next few weeks.
You can find me on Twitter, RedDeadPanda with the number 1 at the end. You can find me on Xbox Live at RedDeadPanda871. I also am a co-host on the Gamers Initiative podcast. It's like 9 p.m. Fridays, British Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and then Saturday, 8 a.m. Australian Time and 10 a.m. New Zealand Time. So, Australian Eastern Time. I have no idea. But thank you so much, as always, for letting me join in. I do have to go. I appreciate it always. And great topics, great panel, and great chat. You guys are amazing. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Panda. We will see you tonight for Community Game Night.
You can also find us standing over Pete's corpse in Halo various times every morning.
Yeah, giving you a flap slap.
Flap slap. I love that. It's honestly my favorite. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. But I will always be on Halo or any other game, but always Halo. You'll find me on Halo. All right.
Fantastic. All right, Sandra. Hey, thanks for coming through.
Bye.
See you, mate.
Much love.
Look, that kind of breaks it up, but I'm going to move to Umbra. Starfield, the dev diary. Did you get a chance to watch it? Look, it just gave me that feeling, when you really feel that something special's coming. And it's not the only game this year that gave me that feeling. So, Umbra, how did you feel about the dev diary?
Space, the final frontier. Man, I was blown away. I was blown away, man. Just listening. For one, Todd Howard. I mean, how can you not like that dude? Honestly, how can you not like Todd Howard? I know they call him God Howard. I don't want to get too blasphemous, but the man is. I don't want to throw the word around lightly because it's used too much, but the man is a genius when it comes to this gaming thing. A lot of people try to cite Fallout 76, but he wasn't really a part of that. And his track record speaks for itself. Oblivion is my favorite Elder Scrolls game of all time. I still actively go back to play it here and there every other year. That game is monumental to me. So I already know that, and Skyrim is monumental. So I already know that something that's been 25 years in the making for them. Major passion project for all of them. We know that they're going to put their love into it. We know it's going to be a great game. And from everything we see, continuously, it reinforces that thought, in my opinion. The concept art, even the concept art, everything down to that, it's just like, yeah, this game is going to be the shit. And, you know, me and Jack were talking pre-game, and we were talking about how, you know, the rumors are that the planets are going to be as big as Skyrim. Like each planet, or supposedly a planet will be as big as Skyrim. One planet itself. That's
Atlantic.
That's crazy. Like, I mean, think about that. Think of how much detail has to be put into the world. We already know that there's like 200,000 lines of dialogue and things like that they talked about, right? Which is what I think they said 4 times as much as Skyrim did.
500,000 lines of dialogue.
500,000. Sheesh. I mean, like Jack and Jedi pointed out, there's going to be thousands of hours put into that. I have 1,000 hours in Oblivion. So I already know that I'm going to put that into this. And I love spacefaring type games like that too. And I kind of look at it like the bigger, more mature brother of the Outer Worlds, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get to travel in that too.
We haven't really had like
that they are going to have the Oblivion Persuasion minigame system in the game as well.
Yeah.
And that sounds incredibly cool as well. And I think there was a quote saying it feels like you're having a conversation where you're actually trying to persuade somebody of something. And that's what Todd Howard said. And he said, as far as new systems of dialogue, I think this is definitely one of the most successful ones we've had. I think that sounds incredibly cool. And they're always so forward thinking in their games, and they have the ability with their games to change the industry and to move it forward. And I can't wait to see what they've got in store for us.
That's a good point you said right there, Jedi. Like games like you pointed out with Bethesda, or even I'll go as far as to say with Elden Ring. I know people are tired of hearing it, but those types of games absolutely shift what gaming is. They defined exactly. Halo was one of those games, and that's why I still beloved to most people that, you know, fans of it now. It's one of those games that just defined what is supposed to be. Well, like first-person shooters were not dominant until Halo on the console.
Well, no, you couldn't do a first-person shooter on a console. That was the feeling. That was the thought. It wasn't possible, and it shouldn't be done. And they changed it.
Right. And we have that same thought with RTSs and things like that. I think that's going to eventually become a norm after so long, too, once the right companies really get involved and put out quality, undeniable products. But with Starfield, I mean, I know people were like, oh, I want to see gameplay. Like a lot of the Sony fans are trying to use it as ammo for like when we saw Hogwarts. Oh, actual gameplay. This is what I'm talking about, blah, blah, blah. You know, like we get it. Yeah, okay. These people don't really care so much as they want to rub it in Xbox gamers' face. But any Xbox gamer who was seeing that and thinking, oh, yeah, they're right, we haven't seen anything, let me be worried, you shouldn't be. We already know this is their modus operandi. That's how they get down. They don't show gameplay until 4, maybe 3 months out. This is just how they do. And I have no worry about this. The confidence in how they speak about it, we haven't heard any negatives.
And you got to remember that this is Todd Howard's magnum opus. Like, this is the game that he's been talking about, thinking about, working towards.
5 years.
Yeah.
25.
Yeah.
Almost as long as that.
25 years. Dream project.
This is the game.
Exactly.
This will be the
almost
game.
Older than a lot of people in the audience, probably. You know what I mean? But yeah, like this game is going to be monumental. I know some of you guys may not be so far into the spacefaring type of games like Doovie and yourself, Risk, but much like Jedi, Mass Effect is also a defining like game when it comes to gaming, and I look at this in that sense too. And even if you look at some of the concept art, by the way, Jedi, it gave me the Mass Effect feeling. Like if you really look at it, some of them, the art looks, it got reminiscent of, you know, to me at least, it felt reminiscent of Mass Effect, especially inside the.
Very true.
So I'm hoping for it. I just want to know. Say this and I'll move on. I just want to say I'm hoping that outside of the planets being the size they're going to be, the NPCs we're going to come across, and however they're going to do it for romances or betrayals or double agent style gaming we can do as a spacefaring pirate or whatever. I want to know if they're going to have us actually do space battles. That's what I'm interested in knowing. Are we going to have, you know?
That's it.
That's what I want to know.
Ship
Because
combat,
they alluded to it, but I don't know how far they're going to go into it. I'm hoping it's really in depth where you actually do space battles too, here and there.
You have to. I think you have to with a game like this. But look, we are going to move on because we have a couple of topics left, and we are already tipping the 2.5 hour show. If you have just joined us, this is Xbox Infinite. We go live every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're in Australia, Australian Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. on Saturday. The next thing we're going to is a little bit of a middling kind of, I might have a bit of a skewed opinion, but we had the Idea Xbox show, and look, they've never been really top of my list, get excited for thing. There was some games in there that were pretty cool, no doubt, but my issue with this is it was 3 hours long, and if we were lucky, we got 30 minutes worth of trailers. And I don't want to see that ever from any show, ever. That's just ridiculous. You're not respecting my time, you know? But look, there was a few things in there that were kind of pretty cool. But it was all kind of a little bit, it kind of dumbs it down. It gives it a feeling of you're trying to fill a show instead of you trying to show us what you got coming for these developers. So, was there anything that you guys saw there that interested you, or did you think it was a little bit too long at the 3 hour mark, Hargy?
Yeah, their shows how they handle it are terrible. Sorry, Hargy.
Yeah, that's all right. Go ahead. So I basically, like, yes, there were definitely games in there that I liked. I tried to keep up with it, but man, it put me to sleep. They really need to cut it back a bit. I think if they change the format to say, like you're saying, like, there's 20-30 minutes of actual games, just show me that stuff first, and then like afterwards you can do all the interviews and whatnot if people want to get into depth of what's going on with a specific game. But it's just so like, okay, I get a 2-minute thing and then I gotta wade through like a 10-minute conversation about why we made the game, and that's nice, but I just want to see the next game.
Yeah.
So I think like certainly that Trek to Yomi that was on the Sony side as well, as it's coming to Game Pass on the game Xbox side. That looks kind of interesting. It's a nice little Ghost of Tsushima like 2D thing. That looks kind of cool, depending on how hard it is. Escape Academy, that sounds like an interesting game. Again, anything coming to Game Pass, I'm going to try anyways, right? So that looks kind of cool. Tunic, day one Game Pass announcement that day. Kind of an interesting announcement. There's whatchamacallit?
Shredders.
The Chinatown Detective Agency. So that seems like it's usually the kind of game I like a little bit of just simple adventure, like doing a little investigation, murder mystery type thing. Sounds cool. So that was another one that was interesting to me. Again, I'm gonna try most of these that come to Game Pass anyway, but those ones kind of stood out.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I have had a chance to play Tunic only briefly. I did play the demo before. Looks a good game. It's a lot. It's not as cute as it looks. It's a very difficult game. The same with Shredders. You saw me playing that at the start of the show. That game is very difficult to control. It looks amazing. I think if you can get a hang of the control scheme, it will be good. Do you see anything at the show, Umbra, that interested you?
Sorry about that. Yeah, I saw a few. Wrestle Quest, like Mr. Joanna Dark pointed out, that one actually, I was like, whoa, I gotta play that. And a wrestling RPG. Yeah, I'm hyped. I'm actually excited for that. Tunic, I've been excited for years. So now that this is actually out, it was so funny that people asked them online on Twitter, they were like, oh, is it coming to Game Pass? They were like, no. And then the other day when it was released, they said, they said no, and it showed the image of them saying no online to responding to someone. They showed, well, when Sarah Bond wants the game on Game Pass, it'll be on Game Pass, and they showed her opening a suitcase full of money, and she replied to that laughing to it. But yeah, Tunic coming to it, absolutely. The game is reviewed well. I knew it was great when I played the demo last year, so I'm actually really hyped for that. I'm going to get into that right after Elden Ring. What was the other one? The golf one. I can't remember the name of it. Cursed Golf or something like that, I believe it was.
Oh, yeah, that looked kind of cool, didn't it? Yeah.
Golf in Purgatory, but yeah, I think it's called Cursed Golf, yeah.
Yeah, that looks pretty good, and it's another one.
Quarry? Are you talking about Quarry? Quarry looks.
Oh yeah, well, Trek to Yomi, we absolutely
Quarry
have to say.
wasn't on the idea at Xbox, I don't think. I think 2K released it somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah, there's a few other ones. So the Flintlock, the Siege of Dawn, that looks pretty interesting.
That did look interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and the game is Cursed to Golf. That's the name of it. What else? Whalefall looks interesting. Wrestle Quest is probably top of my list outside of Tunic. Trek to Yomi is probably third overall. I think that's going to be really great. Void Train has been talked about for a while, and I think it's been on PC for years, so whatever for that. There Is No Light. That looks really interesting. And like Hargy pointed out, Chinatown Detective Agency looks kind of interesting too. Like, I'm one of those gamers who can play AAAs and move right on over to some low budget independent game too. I have no problem doing that as long as the game is good. Oh, one last game, Lost Eidolons. That looks really good. So I'm actually excited for that too.
Did any of you guys see that Immortality, the interactive movie trilogy? It's like a detective thing.
That's the one I was going to talk about. Yeah, that looked extremely interesting. And the other one I really like the look of is Flintlock, the Siege of Dawn, because it's behind the guys that made Ashen. And I loved Ashen. I thought that was a great game. So I definitely want to check that out. And look, it's going to be on Game Pass. So, yeah, a lot of these games are. So you just get to try them out, at your leisure. So, nothing's going to get me off Elden Ring. But when I come around to it, I will play them.
Now, speaking of fantasy games, I'm going to move on. Jack, is there anything that you saw that you were interested in quickly? And then we'll move to our last topic before we put this on your radar.
No, actually, I think you guys covered it. I think the one that stood out to me is probably Trek to Yomi. It looks like a side-scrolling Akira Kurosawa movie, which is fantastic. Tunic, obviously, I've started playing. It's adorable. It's difficult. It makes you feel like you're playing Legend of Zelda or the Ori games simultaneously. And then, I think that Flintlock looked really good.
Sorry, Big Bad Mo in the chat said Tunic is dope, not easy, but dope. And it is getting review bombed on it. That's just bullshit, man.
That's sad because that was a project that one man made. He put 6 years of his life into it. And it should have been such a heartwarming story to see that get on Game Pass.
What are they going to do when that game comes? Because it is going to come to PlayStation, right? It's
magically.
What are they going to do then? I mean, that's
they're going to
so
praise it again. Watch the audience.
0 out of 10 because it doesn't have happenings.
That's crazy that they would do something like that. And this game was mostly developed by one person. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah, have some respect, man. This shit's got to stop, man. They really just need to grow up, man. Like, there was a review bomb. There was a review bomb for something else that was PlayStation. That Xbox, there was messages going out from the Xbox guys. Don't do it. Don't engage in it, man. Like, these developers.
Yeah, it was Horizon Forbidden West, I think. Got reviewed by a couple of Xbox guys.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
These people work on this. Don't do
it. Whoever does it.
Yeah. Don't do it.
It does go both ways.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I think the PlayStation guys do it a lot more than the Xbox guys.
Oh, yeah, it's
Xbox
like
Xbox guys have been just started to do it. It's not a good look, guys. These guys work incredibly hard. Yeah, I mean, especially this guy from Tunic. Imagine the time it took, to put this world together, to create your own language, which is put into the game.
Yes.
It looks absolutely beautiful, but you can see his heart and soul in this game. And I started to play it a little bit this morning, just so I could, play it for the show. I did play the beta as well. Wow, is this game beautiful. When you go into that I don't know what it is, when you go to, I think your mum or is in jail or something in that beautiful blue location with the music, and it looks so peaceful and beautiful, and I can't wait to play more. It
is an amazing game. That's just that's kind of really gets on my goat, that sort of stuff. Grow up, man. These people need to just grow up.
They review bombed the mini fridge.
You're like
the mini fridge review.
I know.
They bombed the fucking fridge.
You're a fully grown man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, grow up. Be a man.
Yeah.
Just let people have their time in the sun, and Tunic deserves its time in the sun. Look, we're going to move on to the state of play, which was really good. One of the best exclusives that I've seen PlayStation put out. It's not exclusive. I don't know what's going on with these people on Twitter. Like, do you guys not know how to type in the name of a game into Google and and figure out that it's actually a multi-plat game. It's just unbelievable. And then saying stuff like Starfield is dead, like two different games, man. You know, like
I know. I saved so many of those tweets.
Yeah, you just make yourself look like an absolute donkey. Like,
oh man.
Yeah, so
what's gonna happen years from now with these people? I swear to God.
It's
just save the tweets. Save the tweets, brother.
It's so terrible.
Oh, you do this like, you know, in 6 months. But look, I don't know if you guys have not seen the latest state of play with Hogwarts Academy in it. It was absolutely amazing. I was not interested in a Harry Potter game at all whatsoever. Again, another game that I wasn't interested in. And this game is like, it looks like it's going to be the shiz, man. Like, it is a good looking game. It looks like it's encapsulated the universe of Harry Potter, like, into a game and made it fun, man. Like, I'm pretty excited. Like, I just can't believe all this stuff's coming out at the same time. Like, why are these guys doing this to me? Huggy, did you get a chance to? And it's also done by Avalanche, who these ponies, if they don't know, Avalanche has had a close working relationship with Xbox for quite some time, and they're probably likely to be one of the. It's published by Avalanche, probably likely to be one of the publishers that gets acquired in the next. We'll see in the next couple of years. They're also working on Contraband, which looks like it might be an interesting game too.
So that's a different Avalanche, just as an FYI. So there's an Avalanche. Yeah,
there's
an Avalanche.
Separate. Yeah.
God damn it, Huggy! Why did you say something? You could have told me after.
Yeah, sorry. I watched that dude. It like minutes in, I'm like, oh, I'm already sold. This is so good. Everything about it was so good, and they just kept going, and it got better and better. I'm like, this is so fantastic. Yeah, it looks great. I'm definitely buying that game. Or if Phil wants to give us a nice Christmas present, put it in Game Pass. That'd be fantastic.
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
I'm only buying it if you can play Quidditch.
You can.
They did. They had it. They had. Oh, dude, it was so good. They had like everything in it. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. You can fly the Pegasus. You fly the Pegasus. You can fly the broomstick. Man, you can.
It's so good.
Oh, it's everything that's in there. All the old locations, new locations, and we were talking, Umbra, before the show or the other day, how they put if you've watched Fantastic Beasts, and where to find them. He has that. I think it's a bag. I can't remember what it is, but you go inside of it. It's like a whole other world where he keeps all of his animals. They've got that in there, and they've got character creation. Like
it's like a vivarium.
Yeah, this game looks amazing. Did you get a chance to watch it, Jack?
Oh, I did. I watched it. I actually watched it twice. I think typically I'm not enthralled by state of plays. Typically, but obviously I play a lot more PS5 probably than most of the panel. So it was obviously on my radar. I'm a big RPG guy. Hogwarts Legacy. I was not the biggest, I didn't hold the most interest in the Harry Potter universe the same way I did, say, something like Star Wars or Starfield. But as an RPG guy, I'm putting it right on the list with like Starfield, Avowed, Gotham Knights, I think is another one that's coming out around then. That's going to be great. Really excited for that one.
How beautiful does it look? It looks beautiful. Like I'm literally.
It does. I remember I read all the books as a child. As a little kid, I think I read them all 7, and to the best of my knowledge, it was really evocative of kind of the sort of the dreamy landscapes and surreal vistas that I sort of encapsulated my youth when I read those books. So yeah, right. I know, right. I think you're more surprised I can read. But yeah, no, it's cool. I get that a lot, but more than you'd imagine, actually. But no, I was very excited for it. I think it's gorgeous. I think it's going to be great. I really like the fact that not only are they giving you this expansive, lore-rich universe to explore, the combat looks like I watched the combat at first, and it looked a little like what, like sort of. But I watched the second time, and it looked so much more fluid when I was able to fully appreciate it. And I think it's going to be great. And they're already telling you there's a choice system involved, a good and evil Sith Jedi type thing. And I know Jedi and I were talking about it. He's always he liked he's light side, I'm dark side. So there's a little bit of everything in there for the player. And I'm really looking forward to it.
You don't say.
No, yeah. What can I say? Don't go into my driveway. You're leaving without hubcaps.
So the games you mentioned, there's also another one, and supposedly coming soon. There's a Gollum game coming, right? So the Lord of the Rings.
Yes,
yeah,
there is a Gollum game.
That's a smaller German studio. Yeah, I can't remember actually. It's a smaller German studio. I can't remember.
Yeah, they've just been acquired by
Yeah.
they've been acquired by Nacon, the guys that make.
Is that who?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about them on a previous show, but we did look at Gollum, and the Gollum, I would say, if you have to classify things into the A's, looked a bit double A, but I was expecting this to look and feel
Double A as well.
double A, and I got what I expected from Gollum from the look of what they're bringing out. But from
Pleasantly
this,
surprised with Hogwarts.
this I'm fully pleasantly surprised. This thing looks absolutely stunning. I mean, look, obviously they release trailers and they polish them up, and they, even when it is gameplay, they make it look tip-top, the best you could possibly get. So we'll see what they give us when they bring it out. But it looks amazing. The combat looks amazing. The character development and acting looked amazing. Like, everything they've done in this game looks just like on point. What you should get from a Harry Potter game. Pete, did you get a chance to check out the trailer?
Yeah, I did. Look, I have one concern. I just hope that it's not too kid-friendly, that they go a little bit more Half-Blood Prince route than the Philosopher's Stone or the Sorcerer's Stone if you're in America. That's my only concern.
Hang on a minute.
I like,
is it different in America? It's called the Sorcerer's Stone.
yeah, because
Yeah,
they don't know what a
they
philosopher
thought we were
is.
too
Yeah.
stupid. to
Is that because you
understand.
guys can't spell philosopher, or what happened?
No, it's because they thought we were so
English,
dumb
yeah,
that we
it's
wouldn't understand philosopher, so they made it sorcerer. That's literally what it is. They thought we were too stupid to, and they're not wrong. Unfortunately, they're not wrong.
Yeah,
we
was-
have our own
was-
goddamn dictionary because we're morons.
Sorry.
I disagree.
I
I
was-
disagree. I was in
We
reading
think
at a
good.
sixth grade level by the time I was 19. So speak for yourself.
Look,
What? Argy?
look,
We think good.
Yeah, come on, Umbra. Back me up. He said, "You go to Canada, Haggy."
yeah, look, I'll go back.
In
Sorry
saying
to
that,
interrupt, Pete.
I
Okay.
love the look of the game. I really did. I love the character created. I think it looks pretty in depth. I love that. I can design my own character. I love the look of the Hogwarts school itself and the puzzle aspects of the game. I'm not a big Harry Potter fan. It's fair to say. I think it was the generation a bit younger than me that were really into it. But in saying that, this game looks amazing, and I think it's long overdue, a Harry Potter game. This has a massive
Agreed.
fan base, that spans, I don't know how many books, 10 books, 7 movies. And so they could have something incredibly special on their hands.
More
and it
than
looks
7 movies.
From everything I've seen, they've done it. Yeah, they've done it justice.
9.
They really have done it justice.
They've got 9 movies. And
10,
you're right. You're absolutely
10
right.
movies.
It's 10 movies. Yeah, this
10 movies, yeah.
absolutely right. I haven't seen the 10th one. I need to. It's absolutely right. I mean, my kids love Harry Potter. And generationally, look, I like Harry Potter. It's no Lord of the Rings. It's a little bit airy fairy for me. But man, like, it has a massive player base, and to see a studio doing, and a studio that's not like a massively known AAA. It's not a Ubisoft. It's not an Activision. It's not a 2K. It's to see.
What is WB, isn't it?
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
WB. You're right.
It
you're
is.
right.
It is.
Right.
It's their own property. Yep.
But to see a studio get given a chance to, because I mean, I've never, what has Avalanche done before this? I haven't really heard of anything that they've done before this that's been a massive hit. So to see a studio that's of a smaller size or
I
a
thought
little
that
unknown.
was the Shadow of War one, was it? I'm trying to remember if they were the ones.
So Shadow of War was definitely WB. I don't think it was Avalanche though.
Yeah, I don't think-
Avalanche is
No, it
WB.
wasn't, yeah.
This Avalanche is WB.
Yeah, no, I know that, but I don't think it was the WB Avalanche that did Shadow of War, was it?
I don't.
think it
know.
was.
I think it might have been. Well,
I gotta
Let me look into it.
Yeah,
I'll look
I
into it.
thought it.
Right, yeah, I'm looking into it too. Yeah, but just to.
No, they did the Disney Infinities,
Yeah,
which is interesting.
Yeah,
that they switched from that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Shadow of War was Monolith.
That's right.
Monolith. That's
I was trying to
yeah. I
find
didn't
that,
think it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, otherwise I remember Monolith. I remember that game. That game was fantastic. But as I said, to see a smaller studio, the studio that I don't know if you played Disney Infinity, that wasn't really great for me, great for kids. But to see a studio like that get a chance to put something into the community and do it justice is just good to see. Good for gaming. Look, we'll move on to our last segment topic. whatever you like to call it, put this on your radar, which is a segment that we're going to be doing every week, based
Radar.
based around little games that we see, or hopefully when we get things running, the community sees out there and lets us know about that you should probably have on your radar. And this week it's one that we've talked about already a few times, and it is Trek to Yumi. This is a side-scrolling samurai game, Japanese. Looks absolutely amazing with a bit of a cinematic, old-school Japanese samurai style to it. Yeah, look, I mean, what can you say? I mean, if you just look at the gameplay on the screen, it looks absolutely amazing. I can't wait to play this game. And knowing that it's coming day one to Game Pass just makes it even better. You guys get a chance to check this out?
I did. It looks really good, man. It's like Jack pointed out earlier, so I forgot the name of the Japanese director, but it's definitely
Yeah.
Exactly. Is it Irakura?
Akira Kurosawa. He did like a
Akira
lot of
Kurosawa. Yeah, it's definitely in the vein of that. Yeah, it's definitely in the vein of that. Looks great. I'm interested in it. I'm not. I would say I'm not blown away, but I'm definitely excited for it.
No, a good little side scroller though is always a good thing, man. And it's Devolver Digital, and they do some pretty decent games. So yeah, look, I'm pretty excited for it. I mean, I'm not jumping out of my chair, but hey, it's in Game Pass, so why wouldn't you be? Huggy, you going to be playing this day one?
Yeah, it's in Game Pass. That'll be the idea, right? So unless I'm still playing Elden Ring when this thing comes. So, when is this coming out? I don't even remember. Oh yeah, it's still spring, right? So we don't know. Sometime in the next.
Still got a little bit of time. Still got a little bit. But hey, the way you play Elden Ring, you'll probably still be playing, mate.
Yeah. 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 We'll probably need to like get on party chat again and get you guys into my game.
Oh yeah, I'll jump in. Run through it.
Like you pointed out, though, Risk, it's Devolver. Devolver has put in quality titles, so I got
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Whenever their names behind it, it's generally a really great game. It might be small, but they're always generally great games.
Yeah.
True.
And yeah, well, I don't mind the old side-scrolling way things go, and you can do a lot with the combat. You can still make combat very multi-dimensional if you're doing a side-scroller, and it does seem when you look at it like it is going to be one of those types of games. Jack, you keen to see Trek to Yumi?
Oh, I'm a big fan of side scroll. Believe it or not, I'm a big fan of side scrollers. In terms of just being these little like games you can play sort of in the interim, that interregnum period between the bigger releases. I think my favorite in recent memory, I'm a huge fan of the Ori games, both of them. I thought they were gorgeous.
Yes.
Ori, yeah, I thought they were. In fact, I'm getting ready to play them again, actually, because I need the achievements on this Xbox. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Trek to Yomi. It does look like an Akira Kurosawa film. If you don't know who he is, he's a very famous Japanese director and cinematographer. If you play Ghost of Tsushima, that when you get like super powered and you go all black and white and hack them up, kind of like that, that's called Kurosawa mode for a reason. Also a tribute to Akira Kurosawa. So anything.
I didn't know they called it that.
Yeah, that's why it's called Kurosawa mode. It's a tribute to him because it's the same vein of artistic style that you would find in a lot of his movies. And if you haven't seen his movies, my God, you have to watch them. They're fantastic.
I've seen clips of them. They also have the black and white filter too in Ghost of Tsushima that you can put on.
Yeah, exactly, and that's another Kurosawa mode you can play it in. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it. Love the art direction. Love the homage that they're paying to a great cinematographer and director. One of the greatest. I think it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. I'm hoping it's decently narratively heavy. That would be my only concern. It's not just
there is a couple of actors that put their name to it. Hiroyuki Sanada, who plays Scorpion in the Mortal Kombat movie. I'm pretty sure he's going to be one of the main characters in it, and someone else as well. So I think it will be pretty narrative heavy. I mean, why would you get these big time actors if it wasn't going to be? And that makes me even more excited to it. I think this thing's going to be something quite special.
I do too. I really like it. I think it's a great one to put on the radar. And yeah, compliments to you, Brisket, for highlighting it. I think it's one that people should definitely not sleep on.
Yeah, absolutely, 110%. Yeah, I saw it. I saw it back at the Xbox showing, and this is quite a while ago. And I I was like, "Ooh, what is this?" It's before I touched the PlayStation as well, so I was a little bit like, "Ooh, I kind of want to play Ghost of Tsushima," and then I saw that, and I'm like, "Oh, I kind of don't need to. This is coming."
Wait, you touched the PlayStation?
Yeah, I know, right? I feel dirty. So look, that kind of brings us to the end of our show, man. It's been an absolutely fire show, and I have had a fantastic time, and I hope you guys in the chat have also had a fantastic time. And thank you all for coming along and powering the show, making it what it is. If you're still here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share it out. If you're watching it after the fact, thank you very much. Share it out. Let your people know that you should come here for all of your gaming news. So Doovie, Toolman55, Big Mad Mo, Mr. Joanna Dark, Silent Cypher, Grey Monad, of course, always here. Bob Effect Gaming,
Toolman,
Grum. All you guys that come every Palpatine Gone Mad, all you guys that come every week, power this show. You make it what it is. I can say that every week, but it is absolutely true. And again, to our special guest, Mr. Harriet Two Chains, Hargeet Channing, absolutely amazing takes, man. Let us know where you've actually become a recent member of Game On Daily, which is also an amazing podcast. Let us know where we can find you, what you're up to. Over there with the Game On Daily crew.
Yeah, so hopefully I'll be doing more of the Game On Daily podcast, but I'll be putting up videos over there. So we'll have some videos that I've already got a couple of ideas that I've been trying to make into a video, but Gaz is on vacay. So he's back now, so we'll be putting something together there. And then on Xbox, H Chani, just like my name here. That is my gamer tag, so check me out.
Fantastic, man. Thanks again for coming.
Congratulations on Game On Daily, Hargeet.
Thank you.
And as always, Jack, you're an awesome guest. He takes always bang on the money, very knowledgeable. We appreciate you every time you come on the show, man. Let us know what you're up to, where people can find you, and what you'll be doing.
Yeah, I'm only on Twitter because I'm old. It's the only social media I use. And you just look up the Jack Astronaut or your local police blotter on a weekday. Depends after about 9 o'clock. No, it's great being here. Again, my most sincere thanks to the panel for somehow finding the will to endure me for 3 hours every other week. And again, like Risket's always saying, you guys in the chat, I feel just blessed and lucky to be on with this great group of guys. And, when Panda's here, it's fantastic. And what little I can do to maybe help further this, just seeing you guys in the chat's great. Your support means the world to the guys. They've told me a dozen times. So thank you for having me. And I look forward to gaming with you guys and watching Risket repeatedly die in brutalized, horrible ways. I'm in memorial. So thank you so much, gentlemen.
And as always, JediKnightPete and Umbra, you guys wouldn't be a show without you guys. Jedi, let us know what you're up to. I know what you'll be playing. Everyone knows what you'll be playing, but let us know what you're up to, where we can find you, and what you may play after what you're playing now.
Yeah, look, I'm still playing Elden Ring. I probably will still be playing Elden Ring for a while, but you can find me on Twitter at JediKnightPete or on Xbox at JediKnightPete. Please don't forget that Community Game Night is on tonight. If you want to jump on and join us, it starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Australian Eastern Standard Time. Please feel free to join us. We'll probably jump off Elden Ring and play some Halo, most likely.
Probably.
Everybody's welcome.
Probably. Maybe they'll jump off. Probably. We don't know. We might,
Service might be a little.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to Hargeet, to Jack, as always, and to Risket and Umbra. You guys. It wouldn't be a show without you. To everyone in the chat, who always supports us, thank you so much. I see the same names every single week. You guys are amazing.
Umbra, again, as always, fire show, man. Thanks for coming along, blessing us with your presence. Tell us what you're up to, where you can be found, what you'll be playing, what you might be playing after that, what you're looking forward to.
Oh man, looking forward to so much. Starfield is at the top of the list. I'm wondering what's going to happen with Redfall still. I'm going to be playing Tunic and Far Tides after I finish Elden Ring. I'm on the last boss, trying to get that out of the way, and I'm going to move on. There's 200 plus hours invested into that. But you guys can find me on Twitter under Umbra Infinite or Infinite Umbra. Either way, you'll find me. And you can find me on Xbox and PlayStation under Superhavoc, or PlayStation Super_Havoc. But don't waste your time. I'm not.
Yeah, I was
on
gonna
there
say
much.
no one's finding anyone on PlayStation.
Yeah, don't even waste your time on that. On
You
that
lying,
system. But
brother.
yeah, you'll never hear from me on there. But I want to thank you guys in the audience in the chat for always holding us down. Like Jedi and Rich said, it's typically the same crowd. So thank you guys for coming through and supporting us like you do. As always, it'll take too long to name everyone out, but you know who you are, and we are very appreciative of you. I think it was a time where we were wondering how many people will we get to even watch us. So to have you this many right here is, to me, is even monumental. So we appreciate you guys. Harky, it's good to have you on, brother, and good luck to you going forward on Games on Daily. And I mean, we got to get back on this community gaming. You know, I think I owe you a few revenge kills on Halo, by the way. But,
Thanks for having me on,
I
guys.
think
It
I
was
was-
great.
Yeah, I think I was dozing off at one point, and the people started knocking my head off. I was like, wait a minute. I'm still in this game.
Excuses.
Oh, fantastic, guys.
Yeah,
Again, like I said,
And thank you too, Jack, for holding us down. You're like the MVP, like I said. You've been here. You come right when we need you, always on time. Appreciate you, brother. And of
Much
course,
love.
my co-host Risk and Jedi. You guys are the best.
fantastic, man. Thank you,
Thank you,
guys,
mate.
for being in the chat. Chat, thank you again. Guests, thank you very much again for being here. And, of course, the panel. Great show. And we will see you next week at 8 p.m. EST Friday. And anyway, we out. Catch you later.